Chapter 737, His Royal Highness's Complaint. The Crown Prince was so mad. Why did little Feng Wu have to call him cousin? What sort of cousin was he? But he was too proud to admit his real feelings. Instead, he vented his grievance to his grandmother. Father received something nice and he's giving it out to all his sons except me. The Empress Dowager didn't like the sound of that at all. You're the only one left out. Jun Linyuan nodded. Yes. He then took the list out of his sleeve and handed it to his grandmother. And he stared at Emperor Wu the entire time. Seeing the list and the pack of tea in Feng's hand, Emperor Wu realized what was going on right away. He snapped. Jun Linyuan. Are you complaining now? I won't be threatened. His son snorted. Next to them, Feng and the chief steward exchanged looks, and both smiled in resignation. These two were unlike any emperor and crown prince in the books. The royal family was said to be the most loveless one. It was common sense for members of a royal family to plot against each other whenever they could. However, what Feng saw said otherwise. To him, the three looked more like the typical overprotective grandmother, her obedient son, and the spoiled grandson. It was most amusing. They had to be the first royal family in history with such a relationship. The Empress Dowager couldn't care less what other people thought about her. Her dear baby June was being mistreated and she wouldn't let that happen. Shaking the piece of paper in her hand, the Empress Dowager glared at Emperor Wu. You. Explain this to me. Emperor Wu glared at Jun Linyuan in turn. You brat. Master Linghu thinks very highly of you and gave you more Xiling tea leaves than you can ever finish. Why do you need more? Why can't your brothers have some? Don't be so greedy. The Empress Dowager glowered at Emperor Wu and snapped, a gift from Master Linghu is different from one from you, his father. How can you play favorites with your sons? Emperor Wu didn't know what to say. The old lady added in an authoritative tone, plus, if baby June wants it, he'll have it all. Forget your other sons. They're not getting even one tea leaf. Emperor Wu was baffled. Mother, what happened to not playing favorites? The Empress Dowager smirked. No wonder they say that you shouldn't expect anything from your father when there's a stepmother. Your head has been filled with that woman's poison. Why shouldn't I look out for my favorite grandson? Those words were no different from the things typical grandmothers would say. Feng lowered his head and tried to draw as little attention to himself as possible. Emperor Wu gasped in agitation. Mother, my other sons are your grandsons as well. His mother smirked. Put them together and they're still nowhere near as good as my baby June. Emperor Wu was rendered speechless. And he could only glare at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan, on the other hand, crossed his arms and sneered at Emperor Wu. Emperor Wu said, Jun Linyuan, you. Shush. The Empress Dowager glowered. Is baby June your son at all? All you ever do is pick on him. I've never seen an emperor like you. Just shut up. It's your fault anyway. Emperor Wu thought he was going to have a heart attack. The Empress Dowager turned to Jun Linyuan and her tone softened immediately. Baby June, if your dad mistreats you again, come to me. I'll take care of him for you. All right. Jun Linyuan nodded earnestly. Chapter 738, Jun Linyuan's Real Thoughts. Emperor Wu felt like fainting. All right. You're actually agreeing to that. Aren't you supposed to be the most capable cultivator? Stop complaining. Seeing the look on Emperor Wu's face, Jun Linyuan snorted inwardly. That's the price you pay for being so nosy. Cousin. TCH. Jun Linyuan decided that he wouldn't bring up little Feng Wu at all. He would make sure that his father was at a complete loss. Emperor Wu bellowed, Jun Linyuan. You'll give me a heart attack sooner or later. Jun Linyuan raised his chin. Good. I'll be the emperor then, and I'll beat your other sons up and throw your women out. There's nothing you'll be able to do to me. Emperor Wu's mouth fell open. He turned to the Empress Dowager. Mother, did you hear that? This brat is so spoiled. He has no respect for me at all. The Empress Dowager threw Emperor Wu a dirty look. You call him a brat? How else is he supposed to behave? Emperor Wu didn't know what to say. The Empress Dowager didn't mind Jun Linyuan's language at all. Baby Jun is still a kid, and kids say random things. Don't you know that? Aren't you too old to bicker with a kid? How dumb are you? Emperor Wu's mouth fell open. A kid? Say random things? And he was the dumb one. Mother, you have no idea what this brat did in the next country over. He turned the place upside down. What kind of kid would do such a thing? As Emperor Wu sulked, Jun Linyuan crouched down. A ball of fire appeared on his palm, and he used it to heat the cold medicine. The medicine had almost been ready when Jun Linyuan showed up. With the heat from the fireball, the liquid soon began to bubble. The Crown Prince's fire skills were impeccable. Picking up the pot, he poured the medicine into a white jade bowl, then brought it to the Empress Dowager. Your medicine. The Empress Dowager was so moved that she was almost in tears. My baby Jun is the best. You're not like your dad at all. He's done nothing but upset me. My baby boy is the best. Emperor Wu glared at Jun Linyuan. The only thing the kid did was take the bowl from the pot to the Empress Dowager. But his mother ignored the fact he was the one who had watched over the brewing of the medicine for such a long time. Mother, that's not fair. Jun Linyuan had no problem with taking the credit. He even asked, Grandma, do you like the medicine? It's great. My baby Jun made it for me and it's so sweet. Emperor Wu threw his hands in the air. He didn't want to say another word. Jun Linyuan showed no sign of leaving after the Empress Dowager finished her medicine, which only pleased the old lady further. She found Jun Linyuan the most considerate kid. Wait, something finally occurred to the Empress Dowager, and she beckoned at Granny Lan. Bring me that jade pendant. The flicker in Jun Linyuan was almost undetectable. Soon, Granny Lan brought back the smooth, glossy jade and handed it to the Empress Dowager. Baby Jun, keep the jade safe. This is from Master Linghu, and it has been blessed. Your future marriage depends on it. Put it away. Don't let some girl swindle it away again. The Empress Dowager gave the jade to Jun Linyuan, looking very pleased with her accomplishment. However, she had no idea about what was going on in Jun Linyuan's head. Feng stole a glance, and as he expected, he saw his young master's livid face. Feng sighed inwardly. The scheming, difficult crown prince still hadn't realized his true feelings toward Miss Feng Wu, and was only following his instincts. God knew how hard he had tried to come up with a reasonable excuse to give Feng Wu that jade pendant. Chapter 739, Jun Linyuan the Drama Queen. After everything his young master had done to make Feng Wu accept it, the Empress Dowager took the jade pendant back from the girl. Feng didn't know what to say. The crown prince's face was so grim. Emperor Wu noticed it as well and was displeased. You brat! What's with that look on your face? Your grandmother took the jade back for your own good. Don't tell me you're in love with that little Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan stared at Emperor Wu and said proudly, "Tch, I'll never fall in love with that failure Wu." Only then did the Empress Dowager let out a breath of relief. For a moment there, she really thought that Jun Linyuan was fond of Feng Wu. After all, that was an exceptionally beautiful girl. Then why do you look unhappy about Her Majesty taking it back? Emperor Wu scowled. The Empress Dowager also looked at Jun Linyuan in bewilderment. Feng looked at his young master in astonishment as well. He was curious as to how the crown prince was going to talk himself out of it this time. But one should never underestimate the crown prince's intelligence. Still dark-faced, Jun Linyuan asked impatiently, "Why did you take the jade back?" The Empress Dowager hesitated. Should I not have done so? Jun Linyuan said, of course not. The jade was tainted by something unholy. Huh? The Empress Dowager dropped the jade on the table right away. Feng stared at the Crown Prince. Nice job. Please go on. Jun Linyuan didn't disappoint Feng, and he went on in a solemn tone. The jade is tainted and it can only be cleansed by a virgin girl wearing it. The Empress Dowager asked gingerly, really? Jun Linyuan casually said, yes. Or my life will be shortened. Baby Jun's life was at stake. The Empress Dowager was flustered and she grabbed Jun Linyuan's hand. Sweetheart, are you alright? Do you feel pain anywhere? Doctor. Where's Master Chu? Get him here. Jun Linyuan stopped the Empress Dowager. I'm fine for now. Only then did the Empress Dowager sigh with relief, but she still looked quite shaken. Emperor Wu eyed Jun Linyuan suspiciously. Are you telling the truth? Before Jun Linyuan could say anything, the Empress Dowager glared at Emperor Wu. Shut up. Emperor Wu did as told. He rubbed his nose, still finding the whole thing unbelievable. The Empress Dowager tugged at Jun Linyuan's sleeve. Baby Jun, what are we going to do now? What have I done? Feng looked at the Crown Prince in amazement. This was the very first time that the Crown Prince had told a lie, wasn't it? And it was another first he had done for Miss Feng Wu. That girl was incredible. Jun Linyuan cleared his throat. It's not that difficult. Like I said, we need a virgin girl to wear it, and in a few years, the jade will be cleansed. Dongxue, quickly, put on this jade pendant. The Empress Dowager beckoned at one of her maids. Jun Linyuan's face darkened again. No. He rose to his feet. Why not? The Empress Dowager was confused. Didn't he ask for a virgin girl? Jun Linyuan was losing his patience as he explained to the Empress Dowager in a solemn tone, of course it's not that easy. That girl has to match a lot of criteria, from the circumstances of her birth to her attributes. You can't just pick some random girl. The Empress Dowager was speechless. Chapter 740, Jun Linyuan's here, too. Master Linghu had to look all over the imperial capital to find the right candidate, which was Feng Wu, and I took advantage of this goddaughter thing to give her that jade. But Grandma, what you then did? He accused the Empress Dowager with his eyes, which made the old lady feel very guilty. Emperor Wu was a lot harder to convince. He rubbed his chin. Why didn't Master Linghu bring it up when I visited him last time? The Empress Dowager threw a dirty look at Emperor Wu. You wouldn't only be learning about this now if you cared about baby Jun. Emperor Wu was speechless. How come he was the one getting blamed again? The Empress Dowager caressed Jun Linyuan's cheek affectionately. Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I'll send the jade back to Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan nodded. Yes, and make sure she wears it. The Empress Dowager said solemnly, of course. She has to. I don't care what her feelings are about it. Jun Linyuan said, well, it'll be a little troublesome for the girl that way. His grandmother patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry about it. I'll give her something amazing in return so that she won't wear it begrudgingly. She'll cleanse the jade for you and make sure your life is in no way threatened. Jun Linyuan said, if it takes too long to get to her. No, it won't. The idea of Jun Linyuan's life being shortened made the Empress Dowager on edge. She gave the order right away. Hurry, summon Feng Wu here. Now. Feng stole a glance at his young master. That was incredible. The Crown Prince had played his grandmother like a fiddle. However, when would he admit his true feelings, instead of taking all these detours? Feng looked up at the sky. Well, His Royal Highness was adorable this way. Who was he to remind the Crown Prince how he really felt? The imperial edict baffled Feng Wu. Go to court. Night had almost fallen. What was this about? Is Her Majesty the Empress Dowager not feeling well? Granny Lan had come to deliver the edict herself. Granny Lan was the Empress Dowager's most senior maid, and her performing this task proved how much importance the Empress Dowager attached to it. Granny Lan smiled politely. Miss Wu, Her Majesty the Empress Dowager and His Majesty are waiting. We should be on our way. Could Feng Wu say no to that? Without absolute martial prowess, Feng Wu had to succumb to authority, no matter how reluctant she was. Everyone in the family was worried, and the beautiful lady was on the verge of breaking into tears. Granny Lan genuinely pitied the lady. She was so beautiful. Feng Wu took her mother's hand and comforted her. Don't worry. Everything's fine. I'll be back before you know it. In the imperial palace, Feng Wu paid her respects to Emperor Wu, the Empress Dowager, and blue veins popped on Feng Wu's forehead when she noticed Jun Linyuan. He was here, too. Feng Wu suddenly had a very bad feeling about this. Was he trying to set her up again? Immediately, Feng Wu was on guard as alarms went off in her head. From the Empress Dowager's point of view, Feng Wu seemed to be staring at her baby Jun the whole time, until she forgot to blink. That was Feng Wu. The Empress Dowager's voice was devoid of warmth. Feng Wu looked away from Jun Linyuan and faced the Empress Dowager obediently. The Empress Dowager didn't say a word, and only darted a look at Granny Lan. Granny Lan then brought out a glossy red tray, on which lay the jade pendant. Chapter 741, But why? Feng Wu looked puzzled when she saw the jade pendant. Looking at Feng Wu's exquisite face and the innocent look on it, the Empress Dowager felt a little guilty as well. But nothing was more important than her baby Jun. So she cut to the chase. Feng Wu, take the jade pendant. Huh? Feng Wu was bewildered. The Empress Dowager had practically snatched it back from her, but why was she giving it to her now? What the hell? Feng Wu's first reaction was to turn it down. I really shouldn't, Your Majesty. The jade belongs to His Royal Highness and is related to his marriage. I can't take it. I really can't. The Empress Dowager looked a little embarrassed. She had said pretty much the same thing when she took the jade away from Feng Wu earlier. Was the girl doing it on purpose? The Empress Dowager was displeased. I said take it and you should do as told. Are you going to defy me now? Of course Feng Wu couldn't do that. She knew too well that Emperor Wu was a dutiful son. If she said no to the Empress Dowager now, the Emperor would make her life a living hell. Despite the bitter taste in her mouth and the complaints she was venting inwardly, Feng Wu had no choice but to take the jade pendant. She then sensed an intense gaze. Looking up, she met Jun Linyuan's eyes, which were like bottomless pits. The look in them was unreadable. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Why was Jun Linyuan here? Did he have something to do with the jade pendant being given back? Feng Wu stared at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan returned Feng Wu's gaze arrogantly. He was gloating. Gloating? Feng Wu was frustrated. So, it was Jun Linyuan's idea after all. Seeing that Feng Wu was stealing glances at Jun Linyuan again and had let her mind wander, the Empress Dowager was displeased. Feng Wu. Yes, Your Majesty, Feng Wu came back to herself right away. She was in the imperial palace, and in the presence of the Empress Dowager and Emperor Wu. She had to focus. What are you doing just standing there? Put the jade pendant on, the Empress Dowager urged Feng Wu, with Jun Linyuan's reminder. Feng Wu was confused. Put it on. The Empress Dowager grew impatient. She darted a glance at Granny Lan. Granny Lan went up to Feng Wu, bowed, then said, Miss Wu, please stand still. Feng Wu did as told, then looked at Granny Lan in confusion. Granny Lan hung the pendant on Feng Wu's belt so that it pressed down the lower half of her dress nicely. The deep green color of the pendant was set off perfectly against the floaty white dress. The Empress Dowager only nodded when she saw that the pendant was put on. She added, "Now that you're wearing it, make sure you have it on you all the time, even when you're sleeping. Is that understood?" Feng Wu asked hesitantly, "May I ask why?" The Empress Dowager darted a glance at Feng Wu. The girl was beautiful. She had porcelain skin, pink, tender lips, a nicely curved neck, and slender shoulders. She looked almost too delicate to hold the dress up. Her forehead was round and smooth, and her eyelashes were long and dense. When she looked up, they reminded one of butterflies, which only added to the charm of her eyes. The Empress Dowager thought to herself, "Am I being too harsh? Poor girl. She might not be around anymore in a few years." At that thought, the Empress Dowager said something to Emperor Wu. Emperor Wu's eyes flickered. "Mother, are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure. Let's do it." The Empress Dowager gave the final word. Feng Wu looked at the Empress Dowager in bewilderment. The old lady was so unpredictable. What was she going to do now? Chapter 742, Stunning. Feng Wu looked at the Empress Dowager in bewilderment. What did she want? However, Emperor Wu gave the answer before long. "Summon Lady Xuanji to court." Lady Xuanji? Who was that? Feng Wu didn't recognize the name at first, but it soon occurred to her. Shit! Lady Xuanji was her own mother. The look on Feng Wu's face changed. "Your Majesty, what's?" Emperor Wu smiled at Feng Wu. "Don't worry." Feng Wu then turned to the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager only nodded at Feng Wu with an impassive face. How could Feng Wu not worry? Jun Linyuan couldn't let a day pass without causing her trouble, which made her on edge. Now, he was trying to drag her beautiful mother into this. The beautiful lady was Feng Wu's bottom line that no one could cross. Feng Wu looked up at Jun Linyuan involuntarily. Jun Linyuan was smiling a little, which could be a smirk or a taunting expression. Feng Wu was speechless. What on earth did the royal family want? Would her beautiful mother be flustered and the imperial edict arrived? Of course she would. The beautiful lady was like a flower in a glass house and a kept bird in a cage. She had the mind of a 5-year-old. She would be frightened. However, the imperial messengers were very efficient. Before long, Feng Wu heard footsteps outside. Feng Wu looked up to see her beautiful mother walk in, supported by Chaoga. Good, Chaoga was with her. Xiao Wu. As soon as she spotted Feng Wu, Lady Xuanji raised the lower hem of her dress off the floor and ran toward Feng Wu. Clasping Feng Wu's face between shaky hands, she began to cry. My Xiao Wu. Did they hit you? Does it hurt? Tears dampened her long eyelashes and her pink lips quivered. She looked up at the royal family with her wet, doe-like eyes. The temperature seemed to drop instantly. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. That was so strange. When did her mother ever have that sort of authoritative manner? She looked like an ice goddess. Feng Wu wasn't the only one who thought that way. Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes as well. As for Emperor Wu, he was lost in Lady Xuanji's eyes as soon as he saw her. Talk about toppling a country with one's beauty alone, to say nothing of a true beauty with flesh of ice and bones of jade. For a moment, Emperor Wu could think of nothing but this stunning woman. She didn't look like the mother of a 13-year-old at all. She was a teenage girl herself. She had the pure, innocent look of a baby, and she looked a couple of years older than Feng Wu at most. Emperor Wu was infatuated. Feng Wu didn't want to bring more attention to her mother. Pushing her suspicions aside, she took her mother's hands. Mom, I'm fine. I really am. Look, no one hit me. Lady Xuanji examined Feng Wu and let out a breath of relief after she saw that Feng Wu was really fine. With that, the chill in the air disappeared. Jun Linyuan stared at Lady Xuanji with his piercing eyes and was lost in thought. The beautiful lady beamed at Feng Wu. Her smile reminded one of the evening glow, which was fresh and brilliant at the same time. I'm so glad my Xiao Wu is all right. I was so worried. Caressing Feng Wu's long hair, the beautiful lady still looked a little shaken. Chapter 743, Feng Wu is in trouble. The Empress Dowager was astonished by Lady Xuanji's beauty at first when her eyes landed on the lady. The woman was stunning. She had met Lady Xuanji before. There had been an anomaly in the weather when Feng Wu was born, and the Empress Dowager had summoned Lady Xuanji to court then. Although the lady was pale and flustered, she had still been beautiful enough to take one's breath away. And 13 years had passed since then. The Empress Dowager looked down at her own hands, which showed signs of aging. However, Lady Xuanji still looked as fresh as a teenage girl with her impeccable complexion and great beauty. Time treated everyone equally, but apparently, Lady Xuanji was an exception. Your Majesty, may I ask, why is my mother here? Seeing that Emperor Wu was dazed by her mother's beauty, Feng Wu frowned. She regretted letting this happen. She should have refused the edict. Once the beautiful lady showed her face, a lot more trouble might be waiting for them in the future. Cough. Emperor Wu cleared his throat to cover up his embarrassment. Emperor Wu hadn't been able to tear his eyes away from Lady Xuanji since she walked into the hall. He gestured at the chief steward. The chief steward unrolled an imperial edict that had been prepared in advance. Lady Xuanji is known for her outstanding appearance and her female virtue. She brought up her daughter properly, which led to Feng Wu's great achievement in the written exam. She is hereby granted the title of a second-rank dame. Something then stirred inside Feng Wu. A second-rank dame? She liked the sound of that. With that title, no one would dare try anything on the beautiful lady when she showed up in public. Moreover, even Lady Wang, who was so full of self-importance, was a mere third-rank lady. But her beautiful mother looked as bewildered as she always did. Third rank, second rank, they made no difference to her. However, if they were going to award her mother for Feng Wu's great performance in the written exam, why wait until now? Feng Wu frowned. Something felt off and she was uneasy. Feng Wu pondered the question after they left the imperial palace. In the end, she made a mental note to ask Lady Northern Feng about it another day. In the Feng Manor. The imperial messengers had visited the manor twice today, and of course Lady Wang knew about it. What's with all these visits? Lady Wang was a little on edge. Feng Lu had fallen ill at Feng Wu's triumph and had only just recovered. She said grumpily as she ate her meal, Feng Wu must be in trouble again and the court is dealing with her. Are you sure? Lady Wang wasn't convinced. I think so. The more she thought about it, the more Feng Lu believed herself. Putting down the bowl, she rinsed her mouth with the cup of water her maid offered her, then said that Granny didn't seem too friendly when she came to pick up Feng Wu. Lady Wang turned to look at Granny Gui. Granny Gui nodded. Miss Lu is right. Feng Lu added, plus, Mother, Feng Wu wasn't the only one who was summoned. Another messenger was here to take her mother away, too. It has to be something big. And you know what she's like. She's in trouble, trust me. Lady Wang frowned. What do we do now? Sitting in the head seat, Feng Yanfeng heard every word. He frowned. Feng Wu had done it again. And she had messed with the royal family this time. Would his own job be affected? Just then, footsteps came from outside. Lady Xuanji and Miss Wu are back. Lady Wang put down her chopsticks. Come, let's go to Fallen Star Yard. Chapter 744, Why? When Feng Yanfeng arrived at Fallen Star Yard with a livid face, he was in time to see Feng Wu and Lady Xuanji walk in. Stop right there. Feng Lu glared at Feng Wu. Turning around in bewilderment, Feng Wu saw the family of three. She frowned. What now? What now? Feng Wu, that's what I should be asking you. Feng Lu snorted. Are you going to pretend nothing happened? You're bringing trouble to our clan again. Trouble? Feng Wu gave Feng Lu a quizzical look. What trouble? Ha, playing dumb, are we? Feng Lu moved closer and sneered at Feng Wu. Feng Wu's patience was wearing thin. She turned to frown at Feng Yanfeng. Uncle, do you have anything to say about this? Feng Yanfeng's face was as dark as a stormy sky. Lady Wang scoffed at Feng Wu's words and she couldn't wait to see Feng Yanfeng scold the girl. However, Feng Yanfeng was smarter than his wife thought. He asked coldly, were you in court? Yes. And your mother, too? Yes. You, Feng Yanfeng ground his teeth. Did you make a scene in the imperial palace this time? Feng Wu looked at Feng Yanfeng in bewilderment. If that was the case, shouldn't you, my uncle, be summoned to court? That rendered Feng Yanfeng speechless. Lady Wang and Feng Lu were bewildered as well. Feng Wu led her mother back to her room. The wind was damp and chilly at this hour, and her mother was so fragile. She could catch a cold. Stop! Lady Wang stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu halted, then looked at Lady Wang in resignation. Why did His Majesty summon you to court? Feng Wu, you're not keeping this from your family. Feng Wu sighed. You really want to know? Of course. Feng Wu turned to Feng Yanfeng. And you, too. Just spit it out. Shaking her head, Feng Wu took out the imperial edict from her sleeve and unrolled it. It's an imperial edict from His Majesty. On your knees, please. Feng Yanfeng was speechless. Lady Wang fell silent. Feng Wu glanced at them unhurriedly. Are you going to listen to His Majesty's words standing up? Chills ran down Feng Yanfeng's spine and he knelt down at once. Lady Wang and Feng Lu had no choice but to follow suit. By the grace of God, His Majesty the Emperor hereby issues an imperial edict. Feng Wu. It was the same imperial edict that Feng Wu had been given earlier, and she read the whole thing to the others now. Those who were hearing it for the first time were astonished, especially Lady Wang and Feng Lu. A second-rank dame. Blue veins popped on Lady Wang's forehead. Her husband was a second-rank official now. And the minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel. However, she was still a third-rank lady, and His Majesty showed no intention of raising her status. On the other hand, Feng Wu's mother was. Lady Wang refused to accept it. Rolling the imperial edict back up, Feng Wu darted a glance at Lady Wang. Aren't you supposed to pay respects to the second-rank dame now? Lady Wang. She thought herself such an idiot all of a sudden. Why did she have to mess with Feng Wu when she could have stayed away? Why did she have to force Feng Wu to read the imperial edict? She could pretend nothing had happened if she didn't know about it. Lady Wang regretted every decision she had made tonight. How was she supposed to act all superior in front of Feng Wu's mother now? What could she use to agitate the lady? She herself might get agitated first. Feng Wu gave Lady Wang a half-smile. So, Aunt, are you going to defy an imperial edict? Lady Wang's face was livid. Why? Feng Lu shouted out the question everyone else wanted to ask. Why does your mother get to become a second-rank dame? What contribution has she made? Chapter 745, The New Principal. Because of me, her daughter. Feng Wu grinned at them. I was first in the written exam, and my mother's status rose with me. That's why she's a second-rank dame now. Lady Wang, don't give up. You still have Feng Lu to count on, don't you? Feng Lu. The girl hadn't even made it into the first 1,000. Count on her to get the highest marks. Lady Wang shook her head. That wouldn't happen even in the next life. Poor Lady Wang. She had come here full of expectations and had to leave with regrets. Imperial College's physical tryout was finally going to start. No one knew in advance which terrain had been chosen this year. Hence, no one knew what to expect. But Feng Wu knew. So did Yu Minji. Because Feng Wu had picked the place together with Grand Secretary Fang. With Mr. Zhou dead and Mr. Liu in seclusion, Imperial College needed a new head. The Emperor then named Grand Secretary Fang Vice Principal, and he would be the acting principal until Mr. Liu came out of seclusion. The announcement was made right before the start of the physical tryout. 1,000 students stood in silence on the vast square as they waited for the portal to open and send them directly to the chosen terrain. At first, everyone was talking about what terrain to expect and how difficult it might be. At that moment, an announcement of the appointment was handed down from Emperor Wu. Everyone, teachers and candidates included, erupted into loud discussion as soon as they heard the news. Wow! Grand Secretary Fang. He's Mu Yaoyao's grandfather, right? Oh God! Princess Mu will have so much prestige in Imperial College from now on. The candidates' eyes lit up when they heard the news. Mu Yaoyao was in their year. If they could make friends with Mu Yaoyao, their lives would become so much easier. Many thought that way. Amidst the crowd, Mu Yaoyao couldn't help but get excited. Her granduncle? No, he was her grandpa. Mu Yaoyao made up her mind. She would address Grand Secretary Fang as grandpa in front of the others. As for when she was alone with the old man, well, she could call him granduncle then. No one else needed to know about it. Mu Yaoyao was surrounded by quite a few people to start with, and the crowd only got bigger. Hui Yin, Wen Ling, Lu Hao, and Mu Qing used to be Yi Yifei's minions, and since Yi Yifei had become quite close with Mu Yaoyao, she left those four in Mu Yaoyao's care. Yao Hao and Yao Ying, the siblings from the Yao family, were with Mu Yaoyao as well. Those two were from Mu Yaoyao's own network and were much closer to her. Now that Grand Secretary Fang had been appointed vice principal and acting principal, Mu Yaoyao was practically drowning in the crowd around her. Feng Wu and Chaoge stood a short distance away. They could hear everything Mu Yaoyao said. Hui Yin asked, Princess Mu, is Grand Secretary Fang your grandfather? Mu Yaoyao glanced at her. Misham. Huh? Feng Wu and Chaoge exchanged looks. Chaoge couldn't stand the lie and wanted to expose Mu Yaoyao right away. Grand Secretary Fang had ordered Mu Yaoyao to stop addressing him as grandfather in public. But Feng Wu stopped Chaoge and smiled. Just stay put. But Chaoge couldn't stand it. But Grand Secretary Fang said. Do you think they'll believe you if you tell them the truth now? Feng Wu chuckled. Let's hear what she has to say next. Over there, Hui Yin asked another question. Princess Mu, did Grand Secretary Fang give you any hint about the terrain which the tryout will be taking place in? Chapter 746, We won't have to wait long. The tryout could take place in one of the many potential terrains. They were dark forest, yellow desert, volcanic swamp, misty jungle, snowy plateau. Every candidate here had their own special attribute. Only a handful of them had 2 attributes and even fewer had multiple attributes. Most of them only specialized in a single attribute, such as fire, water, ice, wood, earth, and so on. Hence, if the tryout happened in a place like dark forest, those with the wood attribute would have an advantage. Whereas if volcanic swamp was chosen, those who specialized in fire or earth would have the upper hand. And so on and so forth. Many candidates had tried to find out beforehand what the chosen terrain was. That way, they could adequately equip themselves in advance according to the terrain's characteristics. However, Imperial College's security measures were so impeccable that no one was able to get any information. Since they still had a little time before the tryout started, they all turned to Mu Yaoyao for help. But Mu Yaoyao had no idea at all. She was as lost as the rest of them. Her granduncle had been keeping a distance from her. How was she supposed to know the answer to the question? At that thought, Mu Yaoyao couldn't help but turn to look at Feng Wu. Because most people were pushing toward Mu Yaoyao, the area around Feng Wu looked even emptier in comparison. Xiaoge was the only one by Feng Wu's side. Following Mu Yaoyao's gaze, the others all smirked. Hey, isn't that Feng Wu? As in the person who was first in the written exam? Why does she only have one friend? Hua Yin said, because we're not idiots. Anyone can see that she has no spiritual essence and that she's just a cripple. She could count on her intelligence in the written exam, but the physical tryout is a different story. She's probably not going to make it out alive, let alone get a grade. Most of the candidates agreed with her. Because they thought they could predict Feng Wu's failure, they didn't want to get anywhere near her. Xiaoge was furious. You shallow people. Feng Wu is the best. She's a level 5 spiritual grandmaster already and she's far better than any of you. How dare you call her a cripple? You're all idiots. Xiaoge wanted to say those words aloud, but Feng Wu wouldn't let her. As a result, Xiaoge could only keep them to herself. Xiao Wu, Xiaoge tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve and whispered, Xiao Wu, when can we go public with your cultivation ability? I'd love to see their faces then. She was having a hard time keeping the secret. Feng Wu chuckled. Are you that eager? They're looking down on you and I can't stand it. Xiaoge said indignantly. Tilting her head, Feng Wu told Xiaoge after a moment's consideration, let's wait until we can't keep the secret to ourselves anymore. I have a feeling that we won't have to wait very long. If the Zhuo family confirmed that she had regained her ability and that she was even more brilliant than before, she was sure that the Zhuo family would do anything to get rid of her. By then, not only herself, but all those close to her would be in grave danger. That was why Feng Wu wouldn't reveal the truth just for temporary gratification. Her family's safety was at stake. Xiaoge understood how serious this was as well, and she could only clench her fists and wait for the day when Feng Wu would dazzle the world again. Just then, attention, it's Mr. Fang. At that announcement, everyone stopped talking and stood in line. Chapter 747, Protect One's Own. A hush fell over the square when Grand Secretary Fang walked in. Everyone held their breaths, waiting for Mr. Fang to announce the chosen terrain. Feng Wu watched as Grand Secretary Fang scanned the crowd with his eyes, and he gave Feng Wu a slight nod when he spotted her. He then scanned the crowd again. Hua Yin poked Mu Yaoyao in the arm. Princess Mu, Mr. Fang was looking at you. Mu Yaoyao was secretly elated, but she only said indifferently, he's my grandpa. What's so surprising about that? Grand Secretary Fang had no idea of the silent war going on in the crowd. Without any preamble, he started to announce the rules of the physical tryout right away. Same as every year, the college will give each of you a headband, which you should tie around your forehead. The headbands are specially made by alchemists for the occasion, and they're only effective in the chosen terrain. Soon, teachers came out to give each candidate a headband. Feng Wu looked down at the headband in her hand. It looked a lot like the sports headband she used to wear in her previous life. It was about 3 or 4 centimeters in width, and one could easily tie it around their head. Once all the candidates had put on the headbands, Grand Secretary Fang announced, activate your headband with your spiritual essence, and you'll find 7 stars on the front of the headband over your forehead. Everyone did as told, and they all had their 7 stars. It was just that the stars looked rather dim. Mr. Fang, Feng Wu doesn't have any stars on her headband. After hearing the rules, Hua Yin thought of a way to make fun of Feng Wu right away. Did Feng Wu think she could look down on them just because she got first in the written exam? They were moving into the physical tryout now. As expected, everyone turned in Feng Wu's direction. It was common knowledge that Feng Wu had no spiritual essence. Instantly, everyone was talking under their breaths and sneering at her. She can't even make the stars appear. How is she going to get through the tryout if she can't even do that? Forget about the written exam. What's she going to do now? Grand Secretary Fong frowned. Only then did he remember that Feng Wu had been keeping her ability a secret from the world. She was already a level 5 spiritual grandmaster, but she could still stay calm and composed despite the taunts. That temperament alone was enough to win her much admiration. She was too young to go through so much hardship. All those ignorant youngsters. They knew nothing. Grand Secretary Fong scanned the crowd with cold eyes. Instantly, the temperature dropped and a cold wind blew. The candidates felt a chill seeping into their bodies from their feet and up into all 4 limbs. It was freezing. And terrifying. They realized that Grand Secretary Fong was angry. With a wave of his hand, Grand Secretary Fong directed a streak of spiritual essence toward Feng Wu, and the next second, 7 stars appeared on Feng Wu's headband as well. Like everyone else's, they were dim. Grand Secretary Fong then spoke in a solemn voice. You'll be able to collect spiritual essence by killing spiritual beasts once you're in the chosen terrain. With enough spiritual essence, you'll be able to light up the stars on your headbands. As for other methods of increasing your spiritual essence, it's up to you to find out. I'm only going to emphasize one thing: harming other candidates is forbidden. Everything you do will be watched by Imperial College. After that, Grand Secretary Fong waved his hand. The portal slowly opened. Instantly, white light shot out of the portal, enveloping all the candidates. Chapter 748, Shit. 1. Whoosh! All the candidates flew into the portal. Only then did someone cry out in surprise. Wait, which terrain are we entering? Feng Wu was the only one with the answer. Proud Snowfield. The portal worked like a catapult. Whoosh! All the candidates were thrown out, and they scattered around Proud Snowfield. 1,000 candidates might sound a lot, but Proud Snowfield was an immense place. Once they arrived, the candidates were lost in the snow-covered land and no one knew where the others were. Luckily, they were all sent to the southeast corner of Proud Snowfield instead of all over the entire area. Otherwise, it would take them more than a month just to walk out. And the physical tryout was going to last 7 days. Feng Wu had no idea how the others arrived. She only knew that she was falling from high up in the sky. Thump! She crash-landed. Fortunately, Feng Wu had practice. She had jumped from that giant eagle once. At the critical moment, Feng Wu spun around and landed on her back. She then pulled a sled out of her ring. Yes, Feng Wu had brought a sled with her because she knew she was going to Proud Snowfield. Sitting on the sled, Feng Wu slid down the slope. She felt as swift as a swallow. Snow was kicked up into the air on both sides. As Feng Wu slid down, she gained speed. What she failed to anticipate was that as the sled moved forward, snowflakes kept flying into her eyes. In the end, she tumbled into a snow pit with a thud. Feng Wu fell face down, and it seemed to take her forever to get out. She thought she was going to suffocate. After getting out of the pit, Feng Wu shook off the loose snow, then checked her surroundings. Everywhere she turned, she saw stretch upon stretch of white. The plateau was covered in snow. A short distance away stood a giant pine tree with rime-encrusted branches. The little icicles glittered in the sunlight. The wind was chilly, and Feng Wu shuddered. Without thinking, she sat down cross-legged and activated her spiritual essence. She hadn't gotten her spiritual essence back for long and she was quite capable already. It was just that she had kept it from the others. Feng Wu was circulating fire spiritual energy throughout her body when she sensed something dangerous in the snow pit she fell into earlier. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. It felt so powerful. She turned around to see a frost magical beast. It looked like a cheetah, but with thicker fur which stuck out stiffly like icicles, resembling the spines of a hedgehog. The fur shone brilliantly under the sun. The name Spiny Frost Beast came to Feng Wu's mind right away. And it was a beast at the spiritual grandmaster stage. Feng Wu's heart sank. This had to be her unlucky day. She just happened to fall into the nest of a spiny frost beast. 1 spiny frost beast, 2 spiny frost beast, 3. Seeing the beasts crawl out of the pit and glare at her, Feng Wu despaired a little. She had smashed into the nest of some hibernating spiny frost beasts. Seriously? She could try to fight her way out if there was only one of them, but now there were 3. Without hesitation, Feng Wu turned around and bolted. Rumble. As soon as Feng Wu moved, the 3 spiny frost beasts, who were moving slowly, took action as well. Chapter 749, The Chase. Feng Wu sprinted off. And the 3 spiny frost beasts took off after her. Proud Snowfield was a world of vast whiteness. If one were to look down from above, they wouldn't miss the breathtaking chase that was happening at the moment. Looking over her shoulder, Feng Wu saw that the 3 beasts had split up and formed a triangle behind her. It was a typical assault formation and they wasted no time in pressing forward. The distance between Feng Wu and the beasts kept getting narrower. Feng Wu calculated in her head. At this rate, she would be worn out in less than an hour and the 3 beasts would surround her. When that happened, she would be in a disadvantageous position. Feng Wu scanned the surrounding area, hoping to find something to work with. Wait! In the distance, as far away as her eyes could see, stood a pine grove, the trees covered in rime. Rime formed when frost covered the surface of the branches in cold weather. From afar, the scene looked magical. Feng Wu ran as fast as she could toward the pine grove with the 3 beasts at her heels. Their faces looked even more ferocious during the chase and their spines glinted in the sunlight. Boom! There was a loud noise. Instinctively, Feng Wu looked over her shoulder. Of the 2 beasts running in the rear, the left one leapt up, stepped on the beast in the front, and jumped. The one on the right stepped on the beast in the front before stepping again on the one that was still in midair. They were using one another as stepping boards. Shit! Feng Wu then saw the beast on the far right pounce swiftly at her after that maneuver. Rumble! The beast was almost on Feng Wu when Feng Wu rolled on the ground, and the beast narrowly missed her. However, that slowed her down, and the 2 beasts behind took the opportunity to catch up to her. Feng Wu then realized that the beasts were a family. The one in the front was the father, while the mother ran on the left and the son on the right. The family of 3 was hunting Feng Wu and wanted to have her for lunch. Proud Snowfield was a tough place with vile weather and little food. This fresh human being just happened to show up on their doorstep, and the family of spiny frost beasts was elated. The aroma of warm human flesh titillated their senses and their mouths watered. The beasts exchanged looks and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. This human was theirs. Immediately 2 beasts circled Feng Wu. She rolled away swiftly, then jumped to her feet. The mother beast slashed down at Feng Wu's head with a front paw. Feng Wu evaded, but the paw still caught her cheek and cut her skin open. Blood ran down her fair cheek. It hurt. The smell of blood agitated the beasts further. Roar! They charged at Feng Wu at full speed. On guard, Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. She knew very well that she couldn't handle all 3 beasts all at once, and her best strategy was to separate them. With that in mind, Feng Wu wiped the blood off her cheek and jumped into a pine tree. She moved very fast. Chapter 750, No. Grabbing a frozen branch, Feng Wu swung forward, and the next second, she had flown into a second pine tree. The 3 spiny frost beasts were all bewildered. This human girl was more agile than a monkey. But did she think she could get away so easily? All 3 beasts had eerie smiles on their faces. Chase! They went on pursuing her frantically. Right at that moment. Thud! The sun stepped on a spike, which nailed it to the spot. The father and mother beasts turned in their son's direction immediately. The son whimpered, but brandished its front paw at its parents, gesturing at them to continue the chase. It had been a while since it smelled fresh human blood, and it missed it. The parents exchanged looks, darted loving glances at their son, then dashed off again. They had to catch this human girl. Feng Wu swung and leapt from one pine tree to another, and she looked over her shoulder every now and then. She noticed right away that only 2 spiny frost beasts were after her now. However, they were 2 very smart beasts. They evaded all the traps Feng Wu had set for them. Seeing that they were getting closer and closer, an idea struck Feng Wu all of a sudden. Yes. When the beasts flanked Feng Wu again, she dove headfirst into a snow pit. Hiss. Both beasts smirked. Spiny frost beasts grew up in this snowfield and they knew the terrain like the back of their paws. Where did this petty human girl think she could hide? Thump. Father smacked the snowy ground with a front paw. The next moment, it dove into the snow pit. And the mother beast followed suit. When they were both in the pit, Feng Wu jumped out with a smile on her face. Boom! Immediately an explosion went off in the pit, fueled by fire's spiritual energy. The father beast was closer to the explosion, and the blast hit it right in the face. Its left eye became a bloody hole. Ah! Its painful wail drifted up from underground. The mother beast was devastated. Without hesitation, it dashed out of the pit and charged at Feng Wu. Meanwhile, Feng Wu had already set up a simple frost-killing formation. It was plain and straightforward. The formation was created with ice thread tied between 2 pine trees. The thread was colorless, odorless, and almost invisible in the sunlight. Once Feng Wu infused the thread with spiritual essence, it became very taut and could cut open flesh at the slightest touch. Hence, when the mother beast jumped out of the pit, Feng Wu ran like a duck in a thunderstorm, yelling, "Don't kill me! Don't kill me!" The mother beast grinned, its face savage. It opened its mouth so wide that it could swallow Feng Wu whole. Roar! The beast growled, then dashed after Feng Wu without hesitation. It was so eager to eat Feng Wu. And it failed to notice the thin thread tied between 2 pine trees. Its guard was completely lowered when it charged forward. Thud. Sudden, that ice thread. Chapter 751, Exposed. As soon as the mother beast charged forward at tremendous speed. Splurt. There was a strange sound. Looking over her shoulder, Feng Wu saw that sure enough, the thread had indeed left a deep cut in the beast's throat. Feng Wu's heart sank. The hides of spiny frost beasts were thicker than she expected. Before the mother beast could recover from the shock, Feng Wu charged at it with her flaming sword in hand. She was unbelievably fast. Whoosh! She followed with another slash to the beast's throat. Its skin was really hard to cut through, but thanks to that ice thread, there was already an existing open wound in its throat. Feng Wu only had to make it larger. The mother beast stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. That was impossible. How could this be? Up until its death, it still couldn't believe that it was going to be killed by this human girl. The family of 3 had been so confident of victory that they had underestimated the girl. But she was actually able to krrr. The mother beast tried to make a sound to warn its husband of this sinister and crafty human girl, but before she could make a sound, Feng Wu's flaming sword swung down once more. She slashed a 3rd time. Whoosh! The mother beast's head rolled off its shoulders. And it didn't even have time to close its eyes. Just then the father beast jumped out of the pit. And the first thing it saw was the head rolling around on the ground. At that moment the father beast's head went blank. That was impossible. He couldn't believe it. One of its eyes had been hurt by the explosion, but it could still see. Its partner was. Looking up, the beast stared at Feng Wu with a savage look on its face, its remaining eye spitting flames of hatred. Roar! The father beast went berserk. Feng Wu smiled coldly. 3 spiny frost beasts were too much for her to handle all at once, but there was only one left now. And this one was already injured. Just as the beast pounced at Feng Wu. Feng Wu activated all her spiritual essence and acted like a real level 5 spiritual grandmaster. All the spiritual energy around her was sucked into her body. And she slashed at the beast with flaming sword. It was a bloody and relentless battle. One human, one beast. Both tried to kill the other. This spiny frost beast was a level 5 spiritual grandmaster as well. But it was injured. In the pine tree grove on the vast snowfield. The girl and the beast both gave as good as they got. It wasn't so obvious at first, but before long, Feng Wu had gotten the upper hand. Thud. Flaming sword pierced the beast's chest. The beast's spiritual essence surged out toward Feng Wu's headband. 2 stars lit up when Feng Wu killed the mother beast. With the father beast dead, another 2 stars lit up. Feng Wu was baffled when she realized this. Was it that easy to light up the stars? But Feng Wu's stomach turned and she mumbled, "My secret will be exposed when they see my stars lit up." Chapter 752, Concealment. They had just been thrown in and the other candidates probably hadn't started hunting magical beasts yet. What was more, they might not yet know what was going on. But she had obtained 4 stars right away. Wouldn't that be a bit too? Just then, Feng Wu heard a voice in her head. "Xiao Wu, do you need to conceal your stars?" It was Grand Secretary Feng. That was right on time. Grand Secretary Feng was such a friend in need. "Yes." Feng Wu said affirmatively. "All right." And that ended the conversation. But Feng Wu knew that no other words were needed. Grand Secretary Feng would take care of everything for her. That was a very reliable old man. Imperial College. There was a board in the college, where the teachers could see the real-time ranking of the candidates. The system would score and rank all 1,000 students according to their performances. This was the restricted area and only the 7 bosses were allowed inside. Right now, there were only 2 people here. One was Grand Secretary Feng, the acting principal. And the other one was Priest Wu. As for the other bosses, they had no interest in or the time to pay attention to this tryout. Even if they did care, they would only show up on the last day. Priest Wu rubbed his eyes. "Old Feng, am I seeing things? Why did I see Feng Wu's name jump to the top just then?" Grand Secretary Feng said, "Yes, you were seeing things." "I was." Priest Wu found it rather odd. He swore he had seen Feng Wu's name at the very top, but the next second, it wasn't there. How strange. Grand Secretary Feng smiled a little. He had only been granted this level of clearance after he became the acting principal, and he could manipulate the system a little. "Old Feng, your granddaughter is doing a good job. She's second already." Priest Wu pointed at the screen. There were 2 screens on the wall. The one on the left showed what the candidates were doing in Proud Snowfield at that very moment, and Grand Secretary Feng had full control over the system. He would only have to think of the candidate's name and the person would show up on the screen. And a rectangular screen on the right had the candidates' names on it. It only showed the first 200, for those ranked below 200 were meaningless to Imperial College. Every year, only 100 candidates were admitted, and that had never changed. Grand Secretary Feng looked at the screen on the right at Priest Wu's words. He was right. Mu Yaoyao's name had indeed risen to second. The first was a teenager called Xianyuan Yi. Grand Secretary Feng's gaze brushed past Mu Yaoyao's name and lingered on Xianyuan Yi instead. The Xianyuan family always produces promising candidates. Grand Secretary Feng nodded. Priest Wu nodded. After all, the Xianyuan family is one of the 9 major clans and they have more capable members than we can count. It's only normal that one of their youngsters should stand out, or they'll be a joke. Zhang Sun Jing isn't bad either. She's ranked third. Priest Wu smiled. They only just entered and Xian Yuan Yi has already obtained 3 stars. Zhang Sun Jing has 2. We have some high-quality candidates this year. Grand Secretary Fang nodded and agreed with Priest Wu. Although, getting 3 stars and 2 stars was nothing. Xiao Wu had 4 already. It was only that Grand Secretary Fang had acted quickly and concealed her name right away. Chapter 753, Impossible. Grand Secretary Fang gloated. He was the only one who knew about Xiao Wu's real capability. But, Priest Wu frowned. Isn't Yu Minji one of the candidates, too? Why isn't he on the screen? He's supposed to be as talented as His Royal Highness. He should be at least 90% as talented as the Crown Prince. Grand Secretary Fang smiled and shook his head. Yu Minji had always been an unpredictable kid and no one knew what his plan was. An internal list was provided for leaders of Imperial College to check the real-time performances of the candidates and their rankings. And there was an external list as well. It was hanging on the wall of Imperial College. Everyone outside could see the real-time rankings of the candidates. Xian Yuan Yi was first. Mu Yaoyao was second. And Zhang Sun Jing was third. That was to say, not only Grand Secretary Fang, but everyone in the imperial capital who wanted to know the rankings could see it. Right now, a large crowd had gathered outside Imperial College. The square was packed with people, and everywhere one turned, they were met with other faces. Apart from the families and friends of the candidates, there were also related forces and curious onlookers. Master Xianyuan is going to make his name this time. Not necessarily. You've forgotten about the written exam. Feng Wu got first in that one. Big deal. Feng Wu is a good-for-nothing with no spiritual essence. I don't even have to guess. She's going to be at the bottom in the physical tryout. That's right. The written exam only makes up 300 points and the physical tryout is worth 700. That way, Feng Wu is sure to be eliminated. Do you remember how arrogant she was? She offended Princess Mu right in this square and bet her own life. Oh God, I bet she didn't expect that Grand Secretary Fang would become the vice principal and the acting principal. He's Mu Yaoyao's grandfather. So, even if Feng Wu can get in, she'll be. They could only see the rankings and not the actual combat, so they had to make small talk to kill time. Many took pleasure in Feng Wu's predicament. Her success had come too suddenly and unexpectedly that these people didn't think her capability was worth the renown. That was why she had drawn a lot of criticism. In the Imperial Palace, Lady Northern Feng was keeping the Empress Dowager company. Seeing that Lady Northern Feng's mind kept wandering off, the Empress Dowager asked curiously, "What's going on with you today?" Emperor Wu was in the room as well and he also eyed Lady Northern Feng in bewilderment. Lady Northern Feng couldn't wait for these two prominent figures to get to know Feng Wu better, so she gave them a wry smile. Imperial College's physical tryout starts today. The Empress Dowager said, "Asun isn't a candidate. Why are you so fidgety?" Lady Northern Feng said, "Sun isn't, but Xiao Wu is. I can't stop worrying about her." Xiao Wu. The Empress Dowager frowned involuntarily when she heard the name. She's a candidate this year. Lady Northern Feng nodded. That's right. She was first in the written exam and she got full marks. Your Majesty, Xiao Wu is an awesome girl. The Empress Dowager said grumpily, "Are you kidding me? Full marks? Only baby June is able to do that. You're not going to fool me. Your Majesty, I'm telling the truth. Not buying it. But it's impossible." The Empress Dowager had taken the exam herself when she was young and she knew how hard those questions were. Full marks? Who was Lady Northern Feng kidding? Chapter 754, Feng Wu is going to die. Mother, Emperor Wu just happened to know about it and he smiled bitterly. Mother, it's true. Little Feng Wu did indeed get full marks. You know about this? The Empress Dowager was intrigued. As a matter of fact, Emperor Wu happened to overhear Feng Wu and Mu Yaoyao's bet when he went out in plain clothes. He nodded. I do. Emperor Wu said it in the most casual tone, but the Empress Dowager was astonished. What do you mean by that? Feng Wu was really first and she really got full marks, said Emperor Wu affirmatively. The Empress Dowager's eyes widened. How is that possible? Is that girl really that smart? The girl was as bright as baby June. That was a first. Grand Secretary Fang, said Emperor Wu. Grand Secretary Fang. The Empress Dowager frowned. If I remember correctly, he's one of the 7 education board members and has been an examiner many times. Emperor Wu nodded. The Empress Dowager's good impression of Feng Wu disappeared largely upon hearing that. She said stubbornly, I'm sure Grand Secretary Fang helped her with the exam. Well. Emperor Wu couldn't actually deny the accusation. Well, she did have practice, but that doesn't change the fact that she's a very smart girl. The Empress Dowager wanted to retort, but didn't have the words. What more could she say when the girl's intelligence was beyond challenge? But the Empress Dowager wouldn't admit defeat. Isn't she a cripple? She'll never make it through the physical tryout. Emperor Wu looked disappointed. Lady Northern Feng heaved a sigh as well. The Feng clan. Feng Lu ate one more bowl of rice than she usually did. Mum, Feng Wu's life will be miserable from now on. She may not walk out of Proud Snowfield alive. Lady Wang said, Are you sure? Feng Lu gloated. Candidates die every year, don't they? That's inevitable. But Feng Wu. Mum, rest assured. I've planned everything out. Lady Wang looked at Feng Lu in pleasant surprise. The Duan family. Duan Chaoyin said, Mum, don't worry. Duan Chaoga is never going to get in. Mrs. Duan frowned. How do you know that? That girl's cultivation level. Duan Chaoyin smirked. Mum, I hired a few candidates. Mrs. Duan was glad to hear what Duan Chaoyin told her next. The Zhuo family. Zhuo Ming, Zhuo Qinghuan's father, knelt on a rush cushion, and his eyes burned with hatred as he stared at Zhuo He's memorial tablet. Brother, I've learned how you died. I swear to God that I won't rest until Feng Wu is dead. Many in the imperial capital were concerned with the physical tryout. Little did Feng Wu know that a lot of people were trying to use this chance to kill her. Back in the vast proud snowfield, Feng Wu had killed 2 spiny frost beasts. Right now, she was ready to leave. However, at that moment the son of the 2 beasts had finally pulled its paw free of the spike and caught up to her. It was astonished when it saw its dead parents. They had been pursuing this human girl, but why were its parents the ones who were dead? It had anticipated tasting juicy human flesh. Staring at Feng Wu, its eyes glistened. All of a sudden. Roar! The cub charged at Feng Wu with burning hatred in its eyes. Feng Wu frowned. She knew the temperament of spiny frost beasts. They were narrow-minded and vengeful. Once they fixed on a target, they would never let it drop. Chapter 755, Poor Feng Wu. The cub was asking for death, and Feng Wu was happy to oblige. Thump. 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 The battle didn't take long. The cub collapsed on the ground, its blood painting the snow red. It was still staring at Feng Wu as its pupils dilated and its breathing turned shallow. Its last thought was that if it didn't smell human flesh, didn't wake up its hibernating parents, and didn't get greedy, would they still be alive? But that was spilled milk now. The cut on Feng Wu's cheek was no longer bleeding, but it was a deep gash and looked quite severe. But Feng Wu didn't think much of it. With her rejuvenating pills, her face was in safe hands. All she needed to do was wait for the wound to close up on its own. Ding. Feng Wu sensed that another star had lit up immediately after she killed the cub. That was fast. And Feng Wu wasn't the only one who thought that, so did Grand Secretary Fang, in front of the screen. By now, Priest Wu had fallen asleep on the table from boredom, and Grand Secretary Fang was the only one monitoring the screen. Grand Secretary Fang indeed showed his bias. Out of the 1,000 candidates, he only cared about Xiao Wu. As for Mu Yaoyao, he had forgotten about her completely. Looking at the 5 shining stars on Feng Wu's forehead, Grand Secretary Fang grinned. What a wonderful girl. The portal had transported the candidates to random locations on the snowfield, and the girl was one of the most unlucky ones. She was thrown directly into the center of Proud Snowfield and ran into magical beasts at the intermediate spiritual grandmaster stage right away. Most of the candidates were junior spiritual grandmasters. Those between levels 1 and 3 were considered junior spiritual grandmasters. Levels 4 to 6 were intermediate. And senior spiritual grandmasters were between levels 7 and 9. Therefore, if she managed to defeat intermediate spiritual grandmaster magical beasts, she would obtain a considerable amount of spiritual energy. After killing all 3 spiny frost beasts, 5 of Feng Wu's stars lit up in total. If her name was displayed on the screen, she would be ranked first. However, Grand Secretary Fang was still praising Feng Wu when the stars on Feng Wu's headband went out one after another like broken light bulbs. Soon, all 5 went dim and the headband returned to its initial state. Grand Secretary Fang was shocked. Feng Wu had also noticed it. She was the first to sense it. All the spiritual essence stored in the headband was gone, as if they had never been there. Beep. Grand Secretary Fang talked to Feng Wu telepathically. Xiao Wu. What happened? Why did your stars go off? Feng Wu said in frustration, I don't know. They disappeared just like that, without any warning. Why did that happen? They were both at a loss. Grand Secretary Fang came back to himself first. Kid, don't worry. You still have 7 days left, I'm sure you'll figure it out by then. Feng Wu felt like crying. Her original plan was to light up all 7 stars as soon as possible. That way, she could make her way into the central forest and get her hands on some frost essence. But things turned out to be more complicated than she expected. Feng Wu had no idea that her troubles had only just begun. At that moment, she heard footsteps approaching. Is someone here? Watch out. I can small magical beasts and intermediate spiritual grandmasters at least. "756 What level are you?" Feng Wu turned her head involuntarily when she heard the voices. She then saw a team of 6. That's incredible. Who killed this spiritual grandmaster magical beast? 1, 2, and here's another one. 3 spiny frost beasts. Unbelievable. The team of 6 soon walked into Feng Wu's sight. Feng Wu. One of them recognized Feng Wu and cried out in surprise. You know me? Feng Wu darted her a look. The girl exploded. I'm Huiyin, she yelled at Feng Wu. Huiyin. Feng Wu frowned. Who's that? The girl thought she was going to have a heart attack. The others looked at Huiyin in bewilderment. All the candidates had been dropped in random locations when they were transported to Proud Snowfield. No one could find their friends, and this team of 6 was only a temporary thing. On their way here, Huiyin had been telling everyone about her encounter with Feng Wu and how hypocritical the latter was, and her teammates were shocked. Feng Wu was that kind of person. However, now that Huiyin had run into Feng Wu didn't seem to recognize her at all. Everyone looked at Huiyin strangely. Huiyin snapped, Feng Wu. How can you not recognize me? We've met before. Feng Wu looked at her in bewilderment. Huiyin said hastily, in Elegant Ink Gallery, the incident with Yi Yifei? I'm Yi Yifei's friend. And I was in World Tower, too. Remember? You know me. Feng Wu shook her head. Not really. Huayin was speechless. Everyone else looked at Huayin. She had been trashing Feng Wu so badly that Feng Wu sounded like the most evil person on the planet. As it turned out, Feng Wu didn't even know who she was. Huayin felt as if she had just been slapped hard in the face. She stomped her foot in frustration, but there was nothing she could do. Feng Wu just didn't remember her. All of a sudden, Huayin's eyes flickered and she asked, "Who killed those spiny frost beasts? Where did that master go?" Everyone looked at Feng Wu, for she had been the only one here when they arrived. Feng Wu said casually, "Well, you're looking at her." "What?" Feng Shuiyu, a teenage girl next to Huayin, cried out, "You?" Feng Wu nodded. Huayin smirked. "If that's the case, why didn't your stars light up?" Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Why did Huayin have to ask that question? Feng Shuiyu and the others eyed Feng Wu suspiciously. Feng Wu sighed. "I'd like to know the answer, too." Huayin smirked. "Don't flatter yourself. You don't have any spiritual essence. How could you have killed those spiny frost beasts? Do you know what level they were at?" The two large ones were intermediate spiritual grandmasters at least. And the smaller one, if I'm guessing right, was a junior spiritual grandmaster, which made it a level 3 spiritual grandmaster at least. Huayin sneered at Feng Wu. "And you're telling me you killed all 3 magical beasts?" "Feng Wu, you're so..." Feng Wu cut her off with a smile. "What level are you at, then?" 757 Who killed them? I'm a level 1 spiritual grandmaster. It's not much, but at least I'm better than you. However, before Huayin could go on, Feng Wu slapped her right in the face. Smack. It was hard and loud. Everyone stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. It happened so suddenly that Huayin was taken by surprise. Feng Wu smiled. A level 1 spiritual grandmaster. How petty. Feng Wu swaggered off after slapping Huayin. Huayin shouted, "Feng Wu! Stop there! Stop right there!" However, Feng Wu had already dashed off and become a little dot on the horizon. That was fast. Everyone looked at Huayin in bewilderment. Feng Shuiyu found Huayin's claim highly suspicious. "Didn't you tell us that Feng Wu has no cultivation ability at all?" Huayin stomped her foot. "She has none." Feng Shuiyu asked, "If that's really the case, why was she able to slap you, a level 1 spiritual grandmaster?" Zhu Qing, another teenage girl, also eyed Huayin. "You couldn't even catch up to her after she slapped you. You people, are you questioning me now?" Huayin was exasperated. "I'm very close to Princess Mu." "Princess Mu?" Feng Shuiyu and Zhu Qing exchanged looks. All the other girls in the team came from other provinces and had no connections in the imperial capital. After hearing Huayin bragging about all the people she knew, the team tried to butter Huayin up right away. Feng Shuiyu asked, "By Princess Mu, are you referring to Princess Mu Yaoyao?" "Of course." Huayin gloated. Princess Mu is already a prominent figure, then Grand Secretary Feng became the acting principal of Imperial College, which has only raised Princess Mu's status. "After we get into Imperial College, you'll be rewarded for your contributions now." Feng Shuiyu and the others weren't naive, and they got the hint right away. With Mu Yaoyao as their patron, these newbies who were unfamiliar with the city wouldn't be bullied in Imperial College. At that thought, they went back to playing up to Huayin and trashing Feng Wu. Huayin was pleased. Although, who on earth killed these 3 spiny frost beasts? Feng Shuiyu asked curiously. Not Feng Wu, obviously. She didn't even have 1 star on her headband. Who, then? They went on discussing possibilities. However, they couldn't figure it out no matter how they tried. After Feng Wu left the team of 6, she jumped into a snow pit deep in the pine grove. Feng Wu needed to readjust her body after the battle against the spiny frost beasts, and she wanted to find out why her spiritual essence disappeared for no reason. After circulating her spiritual essence throughout her body, Feng Wu was ready to break through to level 6 when something happened. The spiritual essence she had painstakingly gathered flowed out of her. And it was gone. Feng Wu opened her eyes wide. How is that possible? Why did my spiritual essence disappear? Feng Wu knew that Zhuo Qinghuan was a spiritual elder already. But Feng Wu was making even quicker progress. Only days after making it to the spiritual grandmaster stage, she was a level 5 spiritual grandmaster. It was unimaginable to other people. 758 Should you choose to withdraw? But Feng Wu was able to make progress at that speed. However, before she realized it, the spiritual essence she gathered had dissipated. After the disappearance of the spiritual essence she obtained from killing the spiny frost beasts, the same thing was happening to her own spiritual essence. What the heck? Feng Wu began to panic. She examined her body over and over again, but no matter how many times she checked, she couldn't find anything wrong with herself. Just then Feng Wu heard the sound of someone snoring. That was. She pulled something the size of her palm out of her pocket. Feng Tutu. Her little tiger cub. To Feng Wu's surprise, little Feng Tutu was deep asleep, so deep that it looked like it had passed out. Its cheeks were flushed and it was completely ignorant of what was going on around it. What was more? Feng Wu was amazed when she saw that Feng Tutu was absorbing spiritual essence through its fur. She could almost see little swirls on it. Absorbing spiritual essence? Feng Wu was astonished. Had Feng Tutu been sucking away all her spiritual essence this whole time? With that question in mind, Feng Wu flipped Feng Tutu over and touched its plump belly with a finger. A streak of spiritual essence flew into its body at her touch. The spiritual essence was so familiar and compatible with hers. It had to have originally come from her. Feng Wu was baffled. And realization struck her immediately. That's why my spiritual essence's been disappearing. It's all you're doing. Feng Wu poked the little thing in its forehead with a finger. However, the cub went on sleeping flat on its back, with little care for what was going on around it. Feng Wu was speechless. What should she do? She was completely at a loss. However, she could clearly sense that as the spiritual essence was absorbed, the cub was getting stronger. You're taking the easy way. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. She sighed in resignation, but there was nothing she could do. You greedy little thing. There has to be a point where you're sated, right? Once the cub's spiritual essence reached a saturation point, Feng Wu would probably be able to resume her cultivation. Bearing that in mind, Feng Wu stuffed Feng Tutu back into her pocket, jumped out of the snow pit, and continued on her journey. This was such a rare opportunity. With Grand Secretary Fang's help, no one else in Imperial College would be able to see how she performed. With no other candidates around, she could practice her skills on the magical beasts without hesitation. She had been making rapid progress without engaging in much actual combat. Feng Wu had been longing for such an opportunity. Beep. Feng Wu's headband made a tiny beeping sound. Then, to her amazement, a map appeared in her mind, with a lot of red dots on it. There had to be around 1,000 of them. Feng Wu then realized that each dot represented a candidate. Instructions appeared on the map. In a life-threatening situation, the candidate can choose to press the panic button. After doing so, the candidate will be teleported out of the terrain with immediate effect. At the same time, the candidate will fail the exam, so please be cautious about using this course of action. Meanwhile, the same map and instructions appeared in every candidate's head. Feng Wu counted the red dots. There had been 1,000 candidates in total at the beginning, but now, there were only 950 left. 7:59 It's Feng Wu's lucky day. That was to say, an hour after the tryout started, 50 students had dropped out of the exam. The tryout this year is so difficult. A candidate popped out of the portal after giving up on the tryout and he collapsed in the square. He was covered in blood, had a big gash on his head, and was missing half his right ear. No one could bring themselves to look at him in that mangled state. Everyone in the square had been watching the changes in ranking and they wanted to know everything about the tryout. They were thrilled to see a candidate come out. However, before they could reach him, guards from Imperial College had arrived with a stretcher. They helped the candidate onto it, then carried him away. A hush fell over the square. If I'm not mistaken, that's Xiao Tianze, right? You know the guy. I know of him. He's the son of the governor of Tianze province and he's the top candidate from his province. I didn't expect him to be eliminated so soon. The tryout this year is so difficult. The son of a governor failed, just like that. Of course it's difficult. They're in Proud Snowfield, which is the toughest of all the 7 terrains. Luck wasn't on Xiao Tianze's side, if you ask me. I heard that he got transported right into Zone 3 and ran into a Level 3 Spiritual Grandmaster magical beast. Before he knew it, he was getting his ass kicked. Zone 3. That's the area where Junior Spiritual Grandmaster magical beasts dwell. If I recall correctly, Zone 3 is the closest that candidates can get to the center of the terrain. Zone 1 and Zone 2 are sealed off, and only students in Year 2 and above can enter. That's right. Xiao Tianze was really unlucky. The air was filled with a clamor of discussion as more candidates popped out of the portal. Some came back from Zone 4 and some from Zone 3. Exactly how are the magical beasts distributed in Proud Snowfield? Many asked the question in confusion when they saw how severely injured the candidates were. Someone answered the question. It's quite straightforward. Zone 5 is the outermost circle and any candidates that aren't that unlucky are teleported there. The magical beasts there start at Level 9 Spiritual Master and only go as high as Level 1 Spiritual Grandmaster. Magical beasts in Zone 4 are Spiritual Grandmasters from Levels 1 to 3. As for Zone 3, the magical beasts there are Level 3 Spiritual Grandmasters at least, but won't be above Level 5. And so on and so forth. Of course, because Zone 1 and Zone 2 aren't open to outsiders, only the heads of Imperial College know what magical beasts reside there. Xiao Tianze was really unlucky. He was tossed into Zone 3 right away. The guy must have the worst luck of all the candidates. That's so true. Feng Wu hasn't shown up yet. I thought she would be the first to come out. It's her lucky day, I guess. She must be in Zone 5. I think so. But if she's in Zone 5, she'll get very little spiritual essence from killing the magical beasts. She won't be able to pass the physical tryout. No one expected her to pass anyway. $760 recommendation letter. However, they didn't know that Feng Wu had been thrown into Zone 2, and had run into a family of spiny frost beasts, who were Level 5 Spiritual Grandmasters. Their eyes would pop out if they knew what happened. Feng Wu pulled out the map to check her own location. She really was in Zone 2. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. That explained that ferocious family of 3. Seeing that most candidates were in Zone 3 and Zone 4, Feng Wu was reminded of Chaoga. That kid was so outspoken and simple-minded. She hoped that Chaoga wouldn't walk into someone else's trap. If Chaoga ran into Mu Yao Yao and her people. Shaking her head, Feng Wu decided to take a walk in Zone 3. Magical beasts there were spiritual grandmasters between Level 3 and Level 5, and she could handle them easily. Thanks to the red dots on the map, Feng Wu was able to find the other candidates without being spotted. No Chaoga. No Chaoga. No Chaoga. After walking around in Zone 3, Feng Wu found 3 groups that were comprised of candidates who had teamed up to fight the magical beasts. A team of 3 to 5 candidates was an equal match for a level 3 magical beast. Every time Feng Wu found a candidate that wasn't Chaoge, she would mark them on the map. Chaoge was nowhere to be seen in the whole of Zone 3. Was the kid lucky enough to be transported to Zone 4? Magical beasts there were between level 1 and level 3. As a level 1 spiritual grandmaster, Chaoge would be able to handle 1 or 2 on her own. Since Chaoge wasn't in Zone 3, Feng Wu continued her search in Zone 4. Mark. Feng Wu moved very fast in the snow-covered field. She wore a white dress with a cape that had white fox fur piping around the lower hem, which gave her a smart and elegant look. With her white outfit and lightning speed, almost none of the candidates could detect her. When she showed up again, she was in Zone 4. "What do you people want?" someone shouted angrily in the distance. Duan Chaoge glared at Wenling. "I killed that cloud leopard. You people showed up at the last minute and took all the spiritual essence away. You sleazy bastards." "Ha ha ha ha," Wenling smirked. "Duan Chaoge, we were the first to beat this cloud leopard half dead before you showed up to take the credit. We're the victims here. How dare you accuse us?" Chaoge was all by herself. But Wenling had help. Lucky for her, she had been able to meet up with Lu Hao and Mu Qing. 3 against 1. Chaoge was outnumbered. Despite that, Chaoge was never going to surrender to the villains. Chaoge scowled. "I'm the victim here and you're the ones trying to take the credit." Wenling gloated. "No, you are." Stomping her foot in vexation, Chaoge charged at them. "It's mine and I'm not going to let you take it. Give me back the leopard's spiritual essence." "Oh my, you wanna fight? Great." Wenling smirked and said to her friends, "Duan Chaoge is with Feng Wu, and that woman is an eyesore to Boss Yufei. Take this woman down and it'll be as good as a recommendation letter when we bring her to Princess Mu." "All right." Behind Wenling, Lu Hao's and Mu Qing's eyes lit up. 761 Do you have a death wish? Wenling and the other two surrounded Chaoge. Thump. 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 A fight started. Chaoge fought 3 enemies all at once in the snowfield and was able to fend them off in the beginning. As time went by, however, Chaoge began to tire. It was less energy-consuming for the other 3, and they weren't as fatigued as she was. "Ha ha ha, Duan Chaoge, you're so dead." Wenling's smile looked very savage. Thump. She hit Chaoge in the chest. Lu Hao and Mu Qing had each grabbed one of Chaoge's arms, immobilizing her. She had no choice but to endure the full impact of the blow. Chaoge felt a throbbing pain in her chest. She glared at Wenling. Unfortunately, instead of making any progress, Chaoge's cultivation level had dropped in the past 5 years. The exam started shortly after she regained her normal ability, and it was only natural that she was no match for these 3 people working together. Given time, she could surely surpass them. But time was something she didn't have at the moment. "Duan Chaoge, I'm only going to say this once." Wenling stared at Duan Chaoge with a taunting look on her face. "Say, Feng Wu is a bitch and we'll cut you loose." Wenling was so sly. Of all these candidates, Chaoge was Feng Wu's best friend. If Chaoge were to betray Feng Wu, the effect would be devastating. "Say it." Pinching Chaoge's chin, Wenling stared at her in contempt. She then punched Chaoge in the stomach. "Now." Cough, cough. It hurt a lot. Wenling was a level 1 spiritual grandmaster at least, and she spared no effort with that blow. Chaoge spat out a mouthful of blood. "Say it." Wenling stared at Chaoge. But Chaoge only smirked and looked right into Wenling's eyes. "Kill me if you want. I'll never betray Xiao Wu. Kill me now. I dare you." "You think I won't do it?" Wenling snorted. With a flip of her wrist, a dagger appeared in her hand. The sharp blade glinted in the sunlight. Wen Ling rested the blade against Chaoga's throat. Say it or I'll kill you. Chaoga sneered at her. You bitch. Yi Yafei is a bitch. So is Mu Yao Yao. Wen Ling blanched with fury. What are you doing? An emotionless voice rang out a few steps away from them. Turning around, Wen Ling was so frightened that she almost dropped her dagger. It was none other than Mu Yao Yao. And behind her were Yao Hao and Yao Ying, the Yao siblings. Are you making her curse me? Mu Yao Yao stared at Wen Ling instead of Chaoga. Wen Ling was shaking all over and almost dropped to her knees. Princess Mu. It's not like that. I wasn't. Wen Ling explained herself in a hurry. She's Duan Chaoga and I wanted to make her betray Feng Wu and curse her, but she's so stubborn. And I didn't know that she was going to curse you. It's all my fault. Wen Ling eventually knelt down with her head lowered. She was petrified. Mu Yao Yao was already a prominent princess and her grandfather had just been made the head of Imperial College. Only an idiot would try to offend her. Crossing her hands behind her back, Mu Yao Yao shifted her taunting gaze from Wen Ling to Chaoga. Why, Duan Chaoga, it's you. The casual tone was filled with contempt. 762 Feng Wu has arrived. Chaoga glared at her. Mu Yao Yao replied with a half-smile. Wen Ling said what I wanted to say. Rolling her whip up, Mu Yao Yao raised her chin and said in a taunting voice, say Feng Wu is a bitch, and I'll let you go. Otherwise. Before Mu Yao Yao could finish her sentence, Tui. Chaoga spat at Mu Yao Yao. And the sticky saliva caught Mu Yao Yao right in her face. Mu Yao Yao was astonished. She was caught off guard. She was a well-respected princess whose grandfather was the head of Imperial College, but someone had just spat in her face. Mu Yao Yao retched. She could no longer hold her smirk. Pointing at Chaoga, she roared, take care of her. Whip her as hard as you can. I want her dead. She then tossed the whip to Yao Ying behind her. Yao Ying was Mu Yao Yao's most loyal minion, for Mu Mansion was the Yao family's patron. Hence, Yao Ying had been Mu Yao Yao's reading companion since she was little. Taking Mu Yao Yao's whip, Yao Ying lashed Chaoga hard in the face. Chaoga had lost the extra weight and was down to less than 50 kilograms. She was a slim, pretty girl again. The whip cut a bloody gash in her fair cheek. Whip her. Don't stop. The memory of Chaoga's spit on her face made Mu Yao Yao want to throw up. She had been born in the lap of luxury, and that was the grossest thing she had ever experienced. The memory would probably haunt her for the rest of her life. Crack! The whip landed on Chaoga's face, arms, and the rest of her body. It hurt. The pain was excruciating. Chaoga had cuts and gashes all over her body and every inch of her skin was covered in blood. Her clothes were soaked. It really hurt. So much so that she almost passed out. Say it. Say it now. Grinding her teeth, Yao Ying prodded Chaoga. Chaoga sneered at them, and only gritted her teeth harder and wouldn't even let them hear her grunt. Betray Xiao Wu. Over her dead body. Just when Chaoga was soaked with cold sweat from the pain. Feng Wu finally reached them. The first thing she saw was Chaoga being held still by two people, and a third person whipping her mercilessly. Beside them, someone else was giving orders in a vicious voice. Yes. I want her dead. Blood rushed into Feng Wu's head. Thump. Feng Wu charged out and kicked Yao Ying in the stomach. Yao Ying flew backward at the strike. Before the others could see who Feng Wu was. Thump. 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 Feng Wu struck out continuously, sending Lu Hao and Mu Qing into the air. Both saw something flit past them, and before they knew it, they were in the air. Then, with a thump, they hit the ground face down. The impact created a deep pit in the ground, and they were buried in it right away. There were only 3 people left. Wen Ling, Yao Hao, and Mu Yao Yao. All three stared at Feng Wu as if they had seen a ghost. Feng Wu supported Chaoga with one hand. Seeing the condition she was in, Feng Wu almost burst into tears. She was devastated. Chaoga! Chaoga! Holding Chaoga in her arms, Feng Wu gritted her teeth, fighting back her fury. Chaoga had almost lost consciousness, but she opened her eyes at Feng Wu's voice. 763 Feng Wu in a fury. Helping Chaoga to her feet, Feng Wu was infuriated when she saw Chaoga's unsteady gait. Without hesitation, she stuffed a pill into Chaoga's mouth. Xiao Wu. Stop talking. Swallow the pill, activate your spiritual essence, and work on healing your injuries. Feng Wu then helped Chaoga sit down. After taking care of Chaoga, Feng Wu turned around to face the other three. The look she gave Mu Yao Yao was as sharp as a cold blade. What do you want? Staring at Feng Wu, Mu Yao Yao couldn't help but stumble back at Feng Wu's piercing gaze. Stumble back. When she realized her reaction, Mu Yao Yao gritted her teeth and stepped forward. You, Mu Yao Yao stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu walked toward Mu Yao Yao one step at a time, her gaze fixed on the latter the whole time. What do you want? Mu Yao Yao glared at Feng Wu. Don't for a minute think you can scare me. Feng Wu smirked, her gaze as sharp as a blade. Yao Hao blocked her way. Feng Wu, stop right there. Feng Wu glanced at him. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you threaten the princess? I can kill you with a snap of my fingers. Yao Hao considered himself a capable cultivator, he was a level 2 spiritual grandmaster already. However, Feng Wu only raised a hand. Instead of striking out herself. Whoosh! Little Phoenix materialized in the air and charged at Yao Hao. After absorbing the energy of the abnormal flame bead, Little Phoenix could finally come out of the ring. It used to be the size of a palm, but now, its body expanded and it spread out its wings like a giant eagle. Pew! The bird opened its beak, puffing out orange-red flame. Instantly, there was fire everywhere. Ah! A fireball flew right at Yao Hao's chest. Whoosh! Caught off guard, Yao Hao was caught in the fire. Ah! He screamed in pain. The fire burnt through his clothes in no time and ate at his flesh. The pain brought tears to Yao Hao's eyes. He was quick to react. Jumping back, he began to roll around in the snow. They were in the middle of a snowfield and the ground was covered in snow. He thought that rolling around would put out the fire immediately, but he was wrong. Little Phoenix's fire was the abnormal flame which it had obtained from Jun Linyuan. An abnormal flame wasn't something one could extinguish with water. Ah! Ah! Yao Hao kept rolling and patting at his chest, but the fire only grew bigger and began to spread out. Wen Ling was baffled by what she saw. That bird was incredible. How frightening. Where had Feng Wu found such a pet? Wen Ling knew that Mu Yao Yao hadn't even reached Yao Hao's cultivation level. Yao Hao's dilemma meant that Mu Yao Yao wouldn't be able to protect her. Recalling what she had done to Chaoga, Wen Ling felt a chill run down her spine. She turned around and ran. She couldn't fight, but she could flee. But as soon as she turned around, Feng Wu's cold voice rang out behind her. Staring at Wen Ling's back, Feng Wu grinned. Wen Ling, where do you think you're going? With Feng Wu's great memory, of course she remembered Hui Yin and Wen Ling. She only pretended not to recognize Hui Yin to embarrass the latter. Feng Wu's voice made Wen Ling jump. Without hesitation, she bolted. However, 764 Feng Wu demonstrates her power. However, Feng Wu only snorted and darted a glance at Little Phoenix. Little Phoenix and Feng Wu could read each other's minds. All it took was a look from Feng Wu. Whoosh! Little Phoenix flew as swift as an arrow at Wenling. Whoosh! Orange-red flames spurted out of its beak and headed straight for Wenling's back. Ah! Wenling was devoured by flames from behind. The flames looked like devilish faces and made wicked giggling sounds. Ah! Not only Wenling's back, but her hair was on fire as well. Help! Help! Princess Mu, help! Tears rolled down Wenling's face, but she couldn't make a sound because of the searing pain. At that moment, she could smell death, and she was scared. Copying Yao Hao, she rolled around in the snow. She cried and she pleaded, but nothing worked. The fire seemed to have a life of its own, and wouldn't die no matter what. And it bored deeper into her skin. Wenling regretted everything she had done. Why did she have to do that to Chaoga? Why? However, it was already spilled milk. Looking at Mu Yaoyao, Feng Wu smirked. Now that those two are out of the way, Princess Mu, it's finally your turn. Mu Yaoyao had seen how miserable Yao Hao was after he caught on fire, and how Wenling's life was hanging by a thread, and that was enough to make her ditch her pride. She wasn't even as good as Yao Hao. Feng Wu. I'm warning you. Mu Yaoyao stumbled back as she made empty threats. I'm a princess. I'm a princess from a noble family. Feng Wu smiled a little. A princess? Is that a big deal? If everything went as planned, she would be a princess herself very soon. You won't kill me. Why not? Do that and you're dead. Your family will all be dead. Really? I'm so scared. Feng Wu, stop. Stop right there. Stay away from me. Feng Wu scoffed at those words. You should have thought about the consequences when you hurt Chaoga. A whip appeared in Feng Wu's hand. Thump. She lashed it at Mu Yaoyao. And she spared no effort. The strike sent Mu Yaoyao flying. Ah! Mu Yaoyao screamed in fear. However, under Little Phoenix's threatening stare, there was nothing she could do. Mu Yaoyao smashed into the ground, the impact creating a huge crater beneath her. She glared at Feng Wu. She had no idea where Feng Wu found such an incredible bird, but she knew that there was no way she could fight it. Run! Mu Yaoyao made a flee sign with her fingers, and with a whoosh, she disappeared on the spot. The woman fled. Feng Wu frowned and was baffled. Mu Yaoyao had torn something before she fled. What was that? By now, Yao Hao and Wenling were barely breathing. With a wave of Feng Wu's hand, white light flashed and the fire was gone. Sob. Wenling cried in pain. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she gasped. For a moment back there, she really thought she was going to die. Yao Hao lay on his back and his head was swimming. Every breath was torture. What did Mu Yaoyao use? Feng Wu gritted her teeth. Mu Yaoyao was the main culprit. 765 A breakthrough. Feng Wu was only able to lash Mu Yaoyao with the whip once before the latter bolted. That woman hadn't suffered enough. She knew that Yao Hao was Mu Yaoyao's closest minion and she directed her question at Yao Hao. Yao Hao was going to resist, but as soon as Little Phoenix opened its mouth, he felt like crying, even before any flames came out. All right. All right. I'll tell you. Feng Wu sneered at him. It's a teleport scroll. Yao Hao took a deep breath. There's an amazing cultivator in the Mu family who specializes in teleportation. He made the scroll for Princess Mu so that she could teleport herself away in critical moments. How many does Mu Yaoyao have? How many? Yao Hao smiled bitterly. Miss Feng, a teleport scroll is as valuable as a human life. It's unbelievably expensive on the market, if you can get your hands on it at all. Once it's out on the market, the price will be outrageously high. The scroll Princess Mu had was a last resort thing. Lord Mu went to that cultivator himself to get that scroll. It's the only one. Feng Wu smirked. If Mu Yaoyao only had one such scroll, she wouldn't be able to get away next time. Just then, there were rumbling sounds overhead. The noise converged and eventually gathered over Chaoga's head. All eyes were on Chaoga right away. And even Feng Wu looked surprised. Yao Hao's eyes opened so wide that his eyeballs threatened to fall out. Duan Chaoga, she's. Feng Wu kept her gaze on Chaoga and saw that the latter was sucking in spiritual essence from around her like a crazy maelstrom. But there wasn't enough. Feng Wu raised an eyebrow. With a wave of her hand, people flew in Chaoga's direction. Wen Ling, Yao Hao, Yao Ying, Lu Hao, and Mu Qing. Their own spiritual essence couldn't be sucked out, but each of them had at least 2 stars on their headbands. No one knew how Feng Wu did it, but the next moment, all the stars on Wen Ling's headband dimmed. She had lost her 2 stars. The same thing then happened to Yao Hao, Yao Ying, Lu Hao, and Mu Qing. All their stars dimmed. The spiritual essence they had gathered from hunting and robbing their fellow candidates was absorbed by Chaoga. No. Realizing what Feng Wu was doing, Yao Hao and the others tried to resist, but there was nothing they could do. Who would have thought that Feng Wu would have such a terrifying little phoenix with her? That bird spat fire at everyone. And it wasn't normal fire. Nothing could put it out. It had to be the rare abnormal flame. Phew. Chaoga exhaled, then opened her eyes. After all the spiritual essence she had absorbed, her eyes were as clear and bright as the ocean. Xiao Wu, did I make a breakthrough? Chaoga looked at her own hands in disbelief. Only a moment ago, she thought she was going to die, but things turned around so quickly, and the next thing she knew, she was leveling up. Feng Wu smiled. What level are you now? I'm a level 2 spiritual grandmaster. Chaoga grinned. Chaoga had been making progress at an unbelievable speed these days. She had been a mere level 5 spiritual master before Feng Wu came back, but she was already a level 2 spiritual grandmaster now. At this rate. (766) Frost Essence. Feng Wu was genuinely happy for Chaoga when she found out that the girl was already at level 2. She had been with Chaoga the whole time as the latter progressed from a level 5 spiritual master to a level 2 spiritual grandmaster. Feng Wu believed that the girl would only get more powerful in the future. Thanks to her breakthrough, spiritual essence circulated throughout Chaoga's body. When she examined herself again, she saw that all her internal injuries had been healed, as well as the cuts on her skin. As for Yao Hao and the others, Chaoga kicked the guy around before turning to Wen Ling. Don't kill me. Please don't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Wen Ling dropped to her knees and pleaded. Chaoga smirked. I'm not going to kill you, but you'll wish I did. After that, Chaoga raised her dagger. Ah! Wen Ling watched as the blade cut into her cheek. It was so deep that it exposed the bone. Chaoga left a bloody, deep gash on Wen Ling's face. Ah! Wen Ling screamed before collapsing on the ground. She was so frightened that she passed out. The others, especially Yao Ying, who was also a girl, covered their faces in fear. Chaoga had ruined Wen Ling's face. The cut was so deep that Yao Ying could hear the blade scratch the bone. No one would be able to fix her face. Yao Ying turned to run. But Chaoga would never let her flee. As a level 2 spiritual grandmaster, Chaoga was the most advanced cultivator here, second only to Feng Wu. With a wave of her hand, Chaoga picked Yao Ying up like an eagle snatching a chicken. Whoosh! That she repeated what she had done to Wen Ling. Yao Hao and the others glared at Chaoga, but were too scared to say anything. Chaoga smirked. I know that a scar on the face means little to guys, but this one will be the shame of your life. Whoosh! She made another cut. Whoosh! Whoosh! Chaoga cut each person on the cheek, making a deep gash. It would stick with them and remind them of the shame. It was a scar they would carry for life. After taking care of Wen Ling and the others, Feng Wu and Chaoge went on their way. Xiao Wu, Chaoge took hold of Feng Wu's hand and said in a pitiful voice, "Xiao Wu, thank God you got there in time. I could have been killed." Feng Wu patted her on the head, then said in a grumpy tone, "No, you wouldn't have. Even if they were going to kill you, they would make sure to do it in front of me." They wanted to enrage her to make her act impulsively. That way, they would have an excuse to kill her. Mu Yaoyao's target had always been Feng Wu, and Feng Wu alone. "Xiao Wu, where are we going now?" Chaoge asked. She would stop thinking whenever Feng Wu was around. All she needed to do was follow Feng Wu. "First of all, we'll find Mu Yaoyao to get our revenge. Then, we'll get enough spiritual essence to light up all 7 stars. But most importantly, we need to find frost essence." "Frost essence?" Chaoge looked bewildered. "What was that?" "I haven't told you." Feng Wu smacked her own head. "No. This is the first time I've heard of it." Feng Wu said, "Grand Secretary Fang is building a formation for cultivation next door, and the formation has to have a core, which is what the frost essence is for." 767 Eavesdropping. Chaoge stared at Feng Wu. What a coincidence. There just happens to be frost essence in the terrain for the physical tryout. Feng Wu smiled at her. "I see." Chaoge smacked her own thigh. "You made this happen, didn't you? You asked Grand Secretary Fang to pick this terrain where that frost essence is, right?" Feng Wu shrugged. "Grand Secretary Fang hasn't always been the vice principal, has he? But I did suggest he choose Proud Snowfield for the physical tryout." "Xiao Wu. You're incredible." Duan Chaoge was amazed. She then gloated. "I overheard the other candidates complaining about this terrain earlier, saying it was too difficult. If they knew it was you." "Shoo," Feng Wu shushed her with a finger. Chaoge covered her mouth and stared at Feng Wu in bewilderment. But one of Chaoge's good qualities was that she always followed Feng Wu's orders. Feng Wu led Chaoge to the back of a snowdrift, and they sat down out of the wind. The snowdrift was as tall as a wall. No one passing by on the other side could see them. They heard someone talking on the other side. "Have you heard?" "What?" "There's a super impressive candidate among us this time. That person got tossed into Zone 2 when we were teleported in." "Wow! Zone 2? Aren't magical beasts their level 5 spiritual grandmasters at least?" To newbies like them who hadn't made it into Imperial College, a level 5 spiritual grandmaster was something they could only dream about. "That's right. I was told that the person killed 3 spiny frost beasts all at once." "Seriously? Seriously? Who could that be? With what they can do, they've got to be the best candidate this year." "Someone said it was Yuminji. The legendary sacred son of the Dark Court." "Well, I'm not surprised if it's him. He's surpassed the spiritual grandmaster stage already. No spiritual grandmaster is his match." But some say that it wasn't him, for he headed for the center of Proud Snowfield as soon as he entered. "So, it wasn't him?" "I don't think so." "Who else, then?" Apart from the Sacred Son, 3 top candidates were mentioned this year: Ning Chenxi of Anyuan Province, Xianyuan Yi of the Xianyuan family, and Gongsun Qing. Gongsun Qing. So, Miss Gongsun, the 3rd daughter of the Gongsun family, is one of the 3 top candidates, someone said in a pleased tone. Miss Gongsun was here with them. Feng Wu and Chaoge exchanged looks. Neither of them had heard of this Miss Gongsun, but it was clear that those talking on the other side all knew who she was. For many cried out in surprise. "Miss Gongsun. Gongsun Qing." Gongsun Qing's people gloated and proudly replied, "Yes, we have Miss Gongsun Qing with us here." All the others were instantly thrilled and showered Gongsun Qing with praise and flattery. After all, Gongsun Qing was one of the top candidates in the bunch. Since they were lucky enough to run into her, of course they would jump at the opportunity. Miss Gongsun, I'm Tao Shuang. Miss Gongsun, I'm Yi. Miss Gongsun, I'm Du Jian. Miss Gongsun, I'm. Gongsun Qing only had 2 people with her. They were 2 siblings, Shi Sun and Shi Xian. The brother and sister raised their eyebrows in satisfaction. They were part of Gongsun Qing's clique and felt like they could share Gongsun Qing's fame. 768 The Aloof Girl. Gongsun Qing darted a glance at them in a nonchalant manner, gave them a little nod, then went back to her cultivation. Soon, Tao Shuang and the others struck up a conversation with the Shi siblings. Shi Sun asked, "Hey, do you remember Feng Wu, that top student in the written exam? Maybe she'll be the dark horse of the physical tryout." Ha ha ha. Tao Shuang and the others guffawed. Shi Sun frowned. "Why are you laughing?" Tao Shuang said, "You're not from the imperial capital, so you probably don't know this. Feng Wu lost her cultivation ability for good. But hasn't she recovered after so many years?" "Of course not. How can one recover a lost ability? Feng Wu is going to spend the rest of her life a cripple, but she just won't accept it. She just had to force her way into this exam. Is she asking for humiliation or what?" "That's so true. Feng Wu got excellent marks in the written exam because she's always been bright. It's no surprise that she got the top score, but when it comes to the physical tryout, well, she better hide herself well." "That's so true. Unluckily for her, we have the toughest terrain this year, proud snowfield. We can withstand the cold by activating our spiritual essence, but Feng Wu, I don't think she can stand it. She may not be able to walk out of proud snowfield alive in 7 days." Everyone was discussing Feng Wu animatedly. Xiaoge was infuriated by everything she heard. She wanted to rush out and beat up everyone who was trashing Feng Wu behind her back. Feng Wu stopped her and shook her head with a smile. "We talk about other people behind their backs and we get talked about the same way. Big deal." Feng Wu shrugged. Moreover, she had deliberately concealed her true capability so that she could take advantage of the way everyone underestimated her. She couldn't care less about their comments. But Xiaoge cared. She was the hot-headed one. Feng Wu could only shake her head with a wry smile. But Xiaoge always obeyed Feng Wu. Since Feng Wu had stopped her, she would suppress her anger no matter what. No one noticed that Gongsun Qing, who was supposed to be cultivating, hadn't been paying any attention to it at all this whole time. Her mind had wandered off the moment she heard Feng Wu's name. "Feng Wu, I thought I would have a chance to face you in combat, but here you are, still a cripple. I can kill you as easily as stepping on an ant." Gongsun Qing smirked. Everyone stopped talking and stared at Gongsun Qing in bewilderment. That was so arrogant. Gongsun Qing sounded as aloof as a princess. "Can you?" A quiet voice came from behind the snowdrift. "Who's there?" Gongsun Qing was astonished. Someone had been hiding there and she hadn't noticed at all. She only became aware of the person once they spoke. With a wave of Gongsun Qing's hand, a gust of wind struck the snowdrift. The snow toppled onto Feng Wu like a thick wall. Feng Wu snorted. She didn't need to do anything, for Little Phoenix had opened its beak. Whooshed out a fireball charged at Gongsun Qing, right for her face. Orange-red flames filled the air and columns of fire flew around like blazing dragons, frightening everyone. They were shocked. "What bird is that?" No one noticed Feng Wu and Xiaoge, for Little Phoenix had drawn all their attention. But Little Phoenix turned all its attention on Gongsun Qing. 769 The little girl back then. Although Little Phoenix was proud, sharp-tongued, and wouldn't admit to being Feng Wu's mounted self, it couldn't stand it when other people looked down on Feng Wu. Its master had left an explicit instruction, telling it to protect the dumb little Feng Wu. How dare these people say those things? They were practically insulting the mighty little phoenix. You ignorant human. Die. The angrier little phoenix became, the more deadly its fire was. Balls of flame hurtled at Gong Sun Qing one after another. Gong Sun Qing wasn't called one of the top 3 candidates for nothing. The girl was very capable. What was more, she specialized in the ice attribute. In this terrain, she was at home. In order to defend herself against Little Phoenix's attack, she activated the ice element, and snow rose into the air, forming an ice shield around her. Columns of fire pounded at the shield, but couldn't break it no matter what. They had reached an impasse. Exasperated, Little Phoenix kept spitting out more fire. Attack! 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 The ice shield around Gong Sun Qing grew thinner and water dripped down around her. However, Feng Wu noticed that Little Phoenix was running out of spiritual essence and was gasping for air. Feng Wu patted the bird. Little guy, you can stop now. No. Little Phoenix shook its head grumpily without turning its gaze away from Gong Sun Qing. It snorted. Little Feng Wu might be dumb and silly, but that's for me to say. No one else can say anything bad about her. This little bird. Feng Wu shook her head in resignation. Little Feng Wu. As in Feng Wu. Everyone looked at Feng Wu in disbelief when they heard the name. You're Feng Wu. Tao Shuang cried out. Yin Yi said, yes. Yes, it's her. I saw with my own eyes when she made that bet with Princess Mu at the city gates. That's right. She's Feng Wu. A hush fell over the crowd as soon as Yin Yi said those words. It was only a moment ago when they had been trashing Feng Wu behind her back while Feng Wu herself was only a wall away from them. She must have heard everything. That was so embarrassing. Gong Sun Qing flew into a humiliated rage. She glared at Feng Wu. Did you hear what we said? Feng Wu found the question idiotic. What do you think? So, you did nothing when you heard what we said, that's because we were telling the truth. You're a good-for-nothing. Gong Sun Qing stared at Feng Wu with contempt. Do you have an old grudge against me or something? Feng Wu asked curiously. Why, you don't remember me? Gong Sun Qing was dumbfounded. Feng Wu was confused. Why should I remember you? Gong Sun Qing opened her eyes wide. You. Did you forget the little girl by the lotus pond 5 years ago? 5 years ago? A lotus pond? That did jog Feng Wu's memory. The little girl I kicked into the lotus pond for bullying my brother Xiaoqi. Tilting her head, Feng Wu studied Gong Sun Qing. That was you. The plump meatball. The plump meatball. Gong Sun Qing almost choked. She was widely regarded as a beauty now and people worshipped her. But to Feng Wu, she was just a meatball. Patting Gong Sun Qing's slim shoulder, Feng Wu said, Hey, meatball, here's the thing. A bad feeling. Patting Gong Sun Qing's slim shoulder, Feng Wu said, Hey, meatball, here's the thing. Keep treating people like this and you won't have any friends left. I'm not your friend. Gong Sun Qing glared at Feng Wu. However, at that moment, Feng Wu raised her hand. Whoosh! Little Phoenix showered the crowd with another round of fire. Everyone, apart from Gong Sun Qing, was caught off guard. What are you doing? Gong Sun Qing flared up. She tried to run out to help the others. To Gong Sun Qing's disbelief, she couldn't throw off Feng Wu's hand. That's impossible. Gong Sun Qing was baffled by the realization. Exactly how powerful was this Feng Wu? Shi Sun and Shi Xian, Gong Sun Qing's 2 friends, and Tao Shuang, Yin Yi, Du Jian, everyone was caught inside a circle of fire. Of course they tried to fight back, but Xiaogo was working with Little Phoenix. Thump. 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 All 5 of them were on the ground in less than 3 minutes. Let go of me. Gong Sun Qing struggled with all her might. To her disbelief, Feng Wu was so strong that she simply couldn't break free. Was Feng Wu really a cripple? Shi Sun and the others were no match for Chaoga and Little Phoenix. Before long, they were all rolling around on the ground, wailing loudly. Chaoga looked at Feng Wu, who nodded back at her. Chaoga's eyes lit up. Grabbing Shi Xian, Chaoga sucked all the spiritual essence out of the latter's headband before moving on to Shi Sun, Tao Shuang. All the headbands were emptied, except for Gong Sun Qing's. Gong Sun Qing was shocked. They had been working hard and had hunted quite a few magical beasts. By now, everyone had 3 to 4 stars lit up. And Feng Wu had stolen their spiritual essence just like that. You. Gong Sun Qing wanted to say something, but Feng Wu took her by surprise and hit her in the carotid artery on her neck with the side of her palm. Feng Wu was already a much more capable cultivator and there was no way Gong Sun Qing could dodge that sudden attack. Gong Sun Qing's vision went dark. The last thing she saw was a shadow flitting past her. She then passed out. Feng Wu took away all the spiritual essence which Gong Sun Qing had obtained from hunting. Xiao Wu, you've absorbed the spiritual essence, but why aren't your stars lighting up? Duan Chaoga asked in confusion. Feng Wu sighed. She wanted to light up all her stars. And she wanted to use the spiritual essence for her cultivation. But the cub had absorbed all the spiritual essence, and there was nothing she could do. Feng Wu was almost in tears. Poor Gong Sun Qing and her friends. They had been robbed of their spiritual essence because they had talked trash about Feng Wu behind her back. That's not enough. I'm still mad. Chaoga stomped her foot. Feng Wu glanced at her. How about we do it again when they've lit up all 7 stars? That's a great idea. Chaoga was thrilled. It would be like reaping chives. They only had 1 harvest so far. All they needed to do was wait for the leaves to grow, and they would be able to harvest again. If Gong Sun Qing heard their plan, she would have a heart attack. Chaoga had 4 stars already, but Feng Wu's headband remained dim. Xiao Wu, where are we going now? Chaoga asked. Feng Wu said, the stars can wait. What's more pressing now is to find the Frosty Night Beast. It has the heart of frost essence. 771 The crucial moment. But where are we going to find that Frosty Night Beast? And more importantly, can we beat it? Feng Wu was silent. Just then something howled in the distance. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. That sounded ominous. What was that? Feng Wu and Chaoga exchanged looks, and both turned in the direction of the sound. A snowy white magical beast jumped into sight, then ran toward them at full speed. That's a mean magical beast. What's going on? Seeing the intimidating beast with horns sticking out of its head, Chaoga was on edge. What was more, a candidate was being chased by the beast. It was a girl so slim that she looked like she could be blown away by the slightest breeze. The girl was in a wretched state as she staggered forward. She almost tripped more than once, but managed to regain her balance at the last moment. Seeing Feng Wu, she cried out, "Run! You people, run!" After that, she changed direction and led the ice-fire beast away from them. Feng Wu had thought the girl would veer their way with the beast, for the crowd here might draw the beast's attention away. Once the beast was distracted, the girl might be able to escape danger. However, at the crucial moment of life and death, the thin girl chose to lure the ice-fire beast away from them. Feng Wu found that very touching. Chaoga looked at Feng Wu, who nodded back at her. Stop right there. Chaoga ran after the beast and began to throw lances at it. Whoosh! Ice arrows appeared in Chaoga's hands and she threw them at the beast. They missed the beast at first, but as Chaoga picked up speed, the arrows began to hit their target. 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 3 arrows. As soon as the arrows touched the beast's back, they bounced off a red shield made of fire. The ice fire beast remained unscratched. As a result, Chowga couldn't draw the beast's attention away. Just then. Thump. The thin girl tripped, fell into a pile of snow, and couldn't get back to her feet right away. The ice fire beast growled. It sounded pleased. After the long chase, it was finally going to have a taste of its prey. Roar! The ice fire beast roared and was ready to pounce on the girl. It was going to swallow her whole. Stop! At that critical moment, Fengwu finally caught up to the beast. Little Phoenix uttered a long and loud cry as flames spurted out of its beak. The fire successfully broke through the ice fire beast's defense system. What happened next was quicker than words could describe. Chowga threw out 7 ice arrows all at once. Whoosh! 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 They were aimed at the beast's forehead, eyes, and heart. And the arrows hit all their targets. Roar! The ice fire beast bellowed furiously. That hurt. These abominable humans. The ice fire beast had to face the reality. In order to reach the girl, it had to get rid of that sordid bird and that detestable teenage human girl. Turning around, it charged at Fengwu. Fengwu narrowed her eyes, but she didn't lash out right away, for she wanted to see what other tricks the beast had. Little Phoenix and Fengwu broke into a fight with the ice fire beast right away. The ice fire beast naturally specialized in both ice and fire attributes, whereas Little Phoenix had the ice attribute and Fengwu fire. It was an equal match. Fire and ice exploded around them. The air froze and burned at the same time. Raging flames and biting frost fell by turns. "772 Danger." The girl that had been chased here by the beast was dazed on the spot. She hadn't expected to be saved. Once she recovered from her initial shock, she ran toward Fengwu, shouting, "Run! Run, now! This ice fire beast is too advanced for you to handle." Fengwu glanced at her. "And you are?" Zhu Yingjun. "How did you piss it off?" I just happened to steal its egg." Zhu Yingjun showed Fengwu a palm-sized egg. Its shell looked translucent and had a pale blue glow. Dense spiritual essence was coming out of it. "Why didn't you give it back?" Fengwu frowned. "It didn't want it back," said Zhu Yingjun. "There were 2 of them at first, and I tried to give one back, but it wouldn't even look at it before stomping it to pieces. So I just..." Zhu Yingjun was still talking when whoosh. Feng Tutu woke up all of a sudden, opened its mouth, and swallowed the egg whole. Fengwu was speechless. So was Zhu Yingjun. The ice fire beast turned its head to see that the egg was gone, and the look in its eyes grew savage all of a sudden. Roar! Little Phoenix had almost suppressed the beast, but the latter went berserk without warning. Thump! Chowga was thrown into the air. The ice fire beast then pounced at Little Phoenix. Its speed was unbelievable. The beast then opened its giant mouth, which looked as bottomless as a black hole. And it inhaled, sucking Little Phoenix in its direction. Little Phoenix, who had been moving nimbly in the air, felt as if it had been sealed in a block of ice. It went as stiff as a stuffed animal and couldn't even move a muscle. Roar! The ice fire beast grinned hideously. It sucked Little Phoenix's small body into its mouth. Fengwu couldn't just stand there and watch. Moving as fast as she could, she reached the beast the next second. Gripping the beast's upper and lower jaw with one hand each, she forced its mouth open. But that ice fire beast was formidable. And Fengwu had to use all her strength to stop it from closing its mouth. Her slender arms shook, threatening to give out. The ice fire beast's crazed eyes seemed to spit fire. And the 2 of them were locked in a stalemate. Little Phoenix was already in the beast's mouth. Seeing that the jaws had been forced open, it grabbed the chance to fight its way out. In the end, it was able to crawl out before its strength gave out. By then, little Phoenix was soaking wet with sweat and looked as if it had been swimming. Roar! Seeing the ready meat escape from its mouth, the ice fire beast was beyond furious. It glared at Feng Wu. Then, a beam of white light shot out from its body. Shit! Feng Wu's heart sank. The beast had leveled up. It had been a level 5 spiritual grandmaster, but had just become a level 6. And it was a level Feng Wu hadn't reached yet. The ice fire beast grinned viciously, eager to taste blood. This petty human was going to die. The ice fire beast lunged for Feng Wu's fair, slender neck with its sharp teeth. Feng Wu twisted, dodging the attack. As Feng Wu fled this way and that, the ice fire beast ran after her in a frenzy. Chaoga was exhausted and had collapsed on the ground with a severe injury. Little Phoenix was recovering in Feng Wu's arms. And that poor girl had been smashed to the ground and had passed out. "773 There's got to be a way out." Feng Wu wanted to run, but she saw the ice fire beast head for Chaoga. No. The beast was way too powerful. One smack and Chaoga would die. Without hesitation, Feng Wu struck the ice fire beast hard in its back. The ice fire beast was ready to stomp Chaoga to death when Feng Wu kicked it in the butt. That was outrageous. Roar! The ice fire beast forgot about Chaoga and Zhu Jun right away. Instead, it pounced at Feng Wu. Once it killed the strongest of the three, it would be able to take care of the other two. The ice fire beast told itself this. Seeing the beast come her way, Feng Wu turned to run. Run, run, run. She had to lure the ice fire beast away, or Chaoga and Zhu Jun would be dead for sure. Moreover, this magical beast belonged to Zone 2. It shouldn't be running wild to kill freely here in Zone 3. The wind brushed over Feng Wu's skin, flinging snow into her face. It was so cold that her bones hurt. But she couldn't stop. She had to run. She had to run as fast as she could. She had been careless. If she had joined hands with Chaoga and the bird from the start, the beast wouldn't have gotten the chance to make a breakthrough. But now that her only option was to lure the beast away, then work from there. Feng Wu led the ice fire beast toward Zone 2. Keeping its gaze on Feng Wu, the ice fire beast galloped forward at its top speed, driven by its rage. The girl and the beast were both running as fast as they could in the snowfield. It was intense and perilous. Speed was a magical beast's advantage, and the ice fire beast was able to run a little faster than Feng Wu. It wasn't obvious at first, but as time passed, the distance between them grew shorter and shorter. Looking over her shoulder, Feng Wu saw that the 1000 m between them had been shortened to 800 m. At this rate, the beast would eventually catch up. What should she do? Various ideas popped into Feng Wu's head. She had to think of a way to get herself to safety before it caught up to her. The ice fire beast ran very fast. 700 m. 600 m. 500 m. Feng Wu gritted her teeth and kept running. Luck wasn't on her side. Before she knew it, daylight faded. Night was closing in. And it grew colder. The temperature in the snowfield plummeted. -30, -40, -50 degrees. It was freezing. Every breath she exhaled turned into white mist. Feng Wu looked over her shoulder again. The distance between her and the beast had been shortened to 200 m. Shit! Feng Wu's stomach lurched. As night set in, the wind howled and she was losing strength from the continuous running. The ice fire beast, on the other hand, was indigenous to Proud Snowfield. The cold didn't affect it at all. If Feng Wu's estimation was right, the beast would catch up to her in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Looking into the distance, Feng Wu could see nothing but an endless snowfield. How despairing that view was. There was an option out there that could save her. She could hit the panic button. The moment she pressed it, she would be teleported out of this terrain. However, Feng Wu smiled bitterly. She had made a bet with Mu Yaoyao. If she didn't get into Imperial College, she would have to give her head to that girl. What was more, she needed to get in because of Jun Linyuan. "774 Is she going to die? What about her broken star piece?" A stubborn look flickered in Feng Wu's eyes. No. She wouldn't give up. Never. Roar. The ice-fire beast was closing in on her. 100 m. 50 m. 30 m. 20 m. The ice-fire beast locked its gaze on Feng Wu. Feng Wu had been setting up the traps which she had used on the spiny frost beasts before, but the ice-fire beast was far more intelligent and wouldn't be tricked. Roar. The giant beast leapt up, then pounced at Feng Wu from behind. It cast an enormous shadow on the ground. Feng Wu tried to dodge. However, a long chain suddenly grew out of the ice-fire beast. That thick black chain had evolved from a black hair on its forehead. The chain flew out and caught Feng Wu right away. At that moment, Feng Wu finally knew what it felt like to be helpless and full of despair. There was a terrifying hook on the chain. It stabbed into Feng Wu's lower back, and with a jolt, the ice-fire beast pulled the chain back. Feng Wu was dragged back until she was in front of the beast. Thump. 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 The ice-fire beast brandished its front paw at Feng Wu, who was within reach now. That hurt. The beast punched Feng Wu 3 times in a row, which made Feng Wu see stars. She spat out a mouthful of blood. She almost fainted from the blows. It hurt. She felt like she was dying. But if she gave up just like that, she really would be dead in no time. Summoning her strength, Feng Wu gathered her spiritual essence, grabbed the dagger that was hidden in her sleeve, and stabbed the ice-fire beast's forehead. Once infused with spiritual essence, the sharp blade glinted coldly and looked invincible. However, clank. Ice-fire beast smacked the dagger away with a sweep of its paw. The blade didn't even touch the beast. Thump. Ice-fire beast threw another punch, aiming at Feng Wu's head. It opened a gash on Feng Wu's smooth forehead. Blood ran down her face. That had to be painful as hell. Feng Wu's vision went dark and she could barely see. She felt as if she was drowning in a dark ocean and her head was filling up with water. Feng Wu knew that it came from the fear of death. Wait. The rabid beast then smelled Feng Wu's blood. It was sweet, scrumptious, and full of spiritual essence. The ice-fire beast could finally think straight again. Without hesitation, it followed its instinct and lowered its head. Whoosh! It buried its sharp fangs into Feng Wu's slender neck. Ouch! That hurt. Gurgle. Feng Wu could hear the beast sucking her blood. It was her blood. Feng Wu was tiny compared with the beast, and it could drain her in a few more gulps. Back in Imperial College. Grand Secretary Fang was leaning forward in his chair as he stared at the screen with the biggest frown. He was watching Feng Wu and the ice-fire beast. He had been watching since the chase and had been on edge the whole time. He was furious when he saw what the beast was doing to Feng Wu. Xiao Wu. Hit the button. Now. Grand Secretary Fang jumped to his feet and stared at the screen. What button? Priest Wu, who had dozed off, was woken up. Rubbing his sleepy eyes, he looked curiously at the screen. What could alarm the vice principal of Imperial College so much? What Priest Wu saw made him open his eyes wide. What the hell? "775 Big problem. Is that Xiao Wu? As in our Xiao Wu? Priest Wu woke up all the way when he realized what was happening. Grand Secretary Feng didn't reply, for he was too focused on the screen to pay attention to anything else. On the screen, Feng Wu was covered in blood. Her hair, her face, her body. The blood was everywhere. Gurgled out, the ice fire beast seemed to have found the best drink in the world and gulped the blood down in great excitement. Feng Wu drew in a breath. She needed to think of a way to save herself. Feng Wu flipped her hand and there was a bottle of medicine in her hand. She then drank it. What did Xiao Wu drink? Priest Wu was confused. Grand Secretary Feng had no idea. Was it some sort of potion that could instantly increase Feng Wu's strength? Priest Wu made the same guess. Can it be a potion that can immediately increase her strength? She's a good medicine refiner. Maybe. Just then. Bah. The ice fire beast, who had been sucking on Feng Wu's neck, wrinkled its nose in distaste. Before it knew it, the beast tossed Feng Wu away. What taste was that? It stank, it was bitter, and it tasted disgusting. As soon as the ice fire beast threw Feng Wu away. Feng Wu twisted swiftly in the air and landed on her feet. She then dashed off without hesitation. Grand Secretary Feng and Priest Wu watched with open mouths. What on earth did Feng Wu drink? The ice fire beast had actually gagged at the taste. Taking advantage of the hard-earned opportunity, Feng Wu bolted. That wretched human. The ice fire beast was furious. That blood was so delicious and the girl had run off before it could enjoy itself. That foul taste had to be temporary. It would draw out all her blood once it caught her again. That way, it could filter the taste out of the blood and enjoy it again. At that thought, the ice fire beast chased after Feng Wu once more. Feng Wu was covered in blood. She left a trail of blood behind her. And that was just the beginning. The low temperature sealed the wounds on Feng Wu's body before long. Although it stopped the bleeding, it also introduced cold air into her system. Feng Wu grew hotter and weaker as she ran. The ice fire beast followed her in hot pursuit. It had only grown stronger after consuming Feng Wu's blood. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound. What was that? Looking over her shoulder, Feng Wu saw spiritual essence fluctuate violently around the ice fire beast. Seriously? Feng Wu didn't know how to describe her despair at that moment. The ice fire beast was much stronger than her to begin with, and it was going to level up even further. After sucking her blood, her enemy was going to make a breakthrough. Feng Wu felt like crying. In front of the screen, Grand Secretary Feng and Priest Wu were equally shocked. Priest Wu said in astonishment, "I thought the girl was a cripple, but she was able to get away from a level 6 spiritual grandmaster magical beast. Those people out there didn't know Feng Wu at all." Grand Secretary Feng's eyes flickered. This isn't a fair exam anymore. Grand Secretary Feng shook his head. A level 6 magical beast should never have been part of the exam. It's going to be a level 7 magical beast after the breakthrough, Priest Wu reminded him. However, something else had shocked Priest Wu even more. (776) The Pursuit. Xiao Wu had spiritual essence, and she was an outstanding cultivator. She was a cripple. Said who? Grand Secretary Feng took a deep breath. Who do you think should go in? You or me? Priest Wu rubbed his chin. Do you think that's really necessary? Grand Secretary Feng nodded. There's something too unusual about Proud Snowfield as the setting for the physical tryout this time. Something big is going to happen. I need to let His Majesty know. Grand Secretary Feng looked at Priest Wu. Someone needs to go to the Imperial Palace. You or me? Priest Wu said, I need to keep an eye on little Feng Wu. Grand Secretary Feng nodded. He then talked to Feng Wu directly. Xiao Wu, something's wrong with Proud Snowfield. Hit the panic button when you need to. Your life is the priority here. The message made Feng Wu's stomach lurch. So, Grand Secretary Feng had been watching her this whole time. He must have seen the perilous state she was in and had to be so worried about her. She would never hit that button, but to reassure the old man, Feng Wu nodded. All right. Meanwhile, she was still running at full speed. However, she was feeling weaker and weaker. The ice-fire beast had stopped chasing Feng Wu. Instead, it sat down and began to absorb spiritual essence from the air, so as to move up to the next level. Magical beasts were naturally more powerful than human beings in their martial prowess. Not to mention that the ice-fire beast was a level higher than Feng Wu. After this, it would be 2 levels higher. Before, Feng Wu was confident that she could lose the beast in a chase, but after drinking her blood, the ice-fire beast was now so familiar with her smell that she would never be able to get away from it. The hair on Feng Wu's back stood up at that thought. But was she going to withdraw from the tryout? That had never been an option for her. And she was in. Feng Wu checked the map in her head. She was running toward a more remote area away from the red dots, which represented the other candidates. At the moment, her own red dot was all alone in the snowfield. All the other candidates felt like a world away. Wait! Feng Wu suddenly realized that there was something else on the map. A few blue dots. 1, 2, 3. There weren't many, no more than 10. And they came in different sizes. What were they? Making her own dot as the reference point, Feng Wu studied the blue dots. 5 kilometers northwest of her, there was a medium-sized blue dot, which was. All of a sudden, Feng Wu drew in her breath. She knew what those blue dots were. They had to be magical beasts. For that blue dot had to be the ice-fire beast. Feng Wu's pupils contracted. So, the blue dots were magical beasts more powerful than her. Did these blue dots exist on all the maps, or was she the only one that could see them? Feng Wu pondered the question, but this wasn't the time to be curious. Her top priority now was to get rid of that ice-fire beast. All of a sudden, an idea struck Feng Wu. Those blue dots, they weren't there for nothing. She knew what to do. Rubbing her forehead to help herself concentrate, Feng Wu dashed toward one of the blue dots as fast as she could. "777 Damn." Feng Wu had picked that blue dot after careful consideration. It was slightly bigger than the one which represented the ice-fire beast. And it was 100 kilometers from her, which was a reasonable distance. That dot it was, then. Once her destination was determined, Feng Wu picked up speed and headed for it. Night had set in and the wind blew even harder. Feng Wu felt as if there was a fire burning inside her. But Feng Wu knew perfectly well that although the ice-fire beast wasn't chasing her now, she was in no way out of danger. The sense of crisis hung over her head like the sword of Damocles. She didn't know when it would fall, but she was sure that she didn't have much time left before it did. Run, run, run. Thump. Feng Wu ran too fast and she lost her footing. She then began to roll down a slope. Luckily, the slope wasn't very tall and she reached the bottom in a moment. Slumping over a snowdrift, Feng Wu gasped for air. She felt too weak to even move a muscle. A fire seemed to be burning inside her and the heat was spreading to all her limbs. It felt so hot. Feng Wu checked her own pulse. She almost cried. Because of the blood loss, evil energy had gotten into her system and cold air was rampaging inside her. In modern terms, she had a fever and her temperature had spiked over 40 degrees. Feng Wu felt so weak that she wanted to bury herself in the snow and sleep for as long as she wanted. But reality wouldn't allow her to do that. She was all by herself now and a lot of people outside were counting on her. She couldn't back down. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu struggled to her feet. She was having a hard time thinking straight and could barely keep her balance. She would trip over her feet every few steps. After falling down into the snow again, Fengwu flinched at the chill on her cheek. Patting her head to wake herself up, she scrambled to her feet again. She had quite a bit of medicine with her, but no antipyretic. It wasn't that she didn't know how to make it, but that she just never expected to need it one day. Moreover, in order to break free from the ice-fire beast, Fengwu had poured a peculiar potion down her throat. That potion was concocted by mixing a lot of ingredients with weird tastes together. Not only did it stink, it was also detrimental to one's health. Fengwu had created it to set other people up, but as it turned out. However, it had helped her get out of the ice-fire beast's jaws, so what if it tasted a little weird? But Fengwu was well aware that her impaired state was directly caused by that potion. 50 km. 30 km. 10 km. Fengwu stumbled and staggered, but she was getting closer and closer to her destination. She took another look at the map. Please don't let that blue dot go anywhere. After all the hardships she endured, she finally hauled her semi-functional body into the valley. Her savior, the other magical beast, couldn't leave now. Staring at the map, Fengwu saw that the magical beast was slowly moving away. Seriously? Fengwu's eyes popped. After everything she had done. Right at that moment. Rumble. Heavy footsteps came from behind her. Fengwu looked over her shoulder. Shit! The ice-fire beast was coming. After the breakthrough, the ice-fire beast had ample spiritual essence. It looked invigorated and its speed had doubled. It spotted Fengwu from hundreds of meters away. On the plain snowfield, Fengwu was such an eye-catching target that she couldn't be missed. That stupid human girl. She was so dead. The ice-fire beast stared at Fengwu with bloodthirsty eyes. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.